right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka The Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you. And let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. If you'd like to support the channel, head on over to TheIndianJesus.com for your very own official merch. You can even get greeting cards, any design you like, only at TheIndianJesus.com. Guys, we do also have a Discord server that is absolutely free to join. Even if you're not familiar with Discord, it is very, very easy. It's basically just like a group chat, but it's awesome. We're in there 24/7 hanging out. It's a great place to meet people and have interesting conversations. And like I said, it is absolutely free to join. However, if you join this channel on YouTube as a member, you can scroll right below the video, hit that join button. There's a couple different levels and tiers here, but it starts at just $2.99 a month and gets you members-only live streams, not only here on YouTube, all that other good stuff, but it also opens up the full Discord server to you, which includes our after-party voice channel. So after every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday stream, we go in there where we don't have to worry about any of the YouTube censors, and you are not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else, whether you want to cam up or not. It is a good time. You should definitely come and join us. Shout out to Dixon Sider. Love the name. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Skull to you, sir. We also got King Nirvana. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Good to see you. So I am excited to see what you guys think of this conversation. We've covered Bill Maher a number of times before, but this is the one where I'm really interested to see what we got. And of course, I've learned my lesson about not going in blind, so I did watch some of this to make sure we got something good. But I didn't fully go through with it. But Jordan Peterson was recently a guest on the Club Random podcast with Bill Maher. And, they get into some stuff, but they get pretty quickly into religion, and then they get into the DEI stuff. And I think it's a really, really interesting way to have these two people discussing this, where Bill Maher is so confident in his positions, and Jordan Peterson is also very confident in the reason why he has his positions. As always, guys, if you can end the video, please do let me know.
If knowledge unifies at the highest level, then there shouldn't be contradictions in the different domains of knowledge. And I don't think there are. I think contradictions are apparent rather than real. They're a consequence of misunderstanding. So I'm trying to, and have been for a very long time. With this new book I wrote, this We Who Wrestle with God, the rule was that I wouldn't formulate any proposition that I couldn't justify scientifically as well as from a narrative perspective. And so that was a fun exercise. It's a rigorous exercise, and it's been very useful to me.
It's funny because, as I told you, it really brought me back reading your book to being at Cornell.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
The only good thing for me about Cornell was...
He went to Cornell? Oof, if that is not an indictment of the universities. Yikes.
I did have intellectual epiphanies, and they did give me an amazing... This is the 1970s, so they were still teaching like horrible stuff, like what white people did.
Right.
People, I'm sorry that it had to be white people who came up with a few of the good things, but they did, and we still teach them. And now in colleges, I feel like that has to go out the window because George Washington had slaves or some, crazy shit like that.
And I mean, I will give Bill a credit for calling out, silly woke stuff when he does, but it's always just a little bit too little too late. You know what I mean? Shout out to Zippy DSM Lee in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Going over to our poll replay gang. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you recognize Jordan Peterson as a Christian? Yes or no? Zippy says no. Jordan Peterson is a new convert who's over-egging. Over egging in the put that I wasn't sure, but we're still in the first 7 minutes, so we ain't gonna say anything. But Zippy said, like a new Christian, he got high on the source. So I mean, he's definitely not a new Christian. He's been talking about the Bible for decades. But the question that I do think that he behaves as if he is a new Christian, and like many of the new converts that we see. But he's definitely been there for a minute. Shout out to John Lemoyne. Welcome to the party with the lobsters. You already know what's good. Welcome. So there's already a lot of sexual tension between these boys. All right. We also got Schwab in the building. Welcome to the party. Said Shuli is in hiding, just so you know. Check any tunnels in your area. You may find him. Thank you for the warning, and welcome to the party.
But I got a great, I think, liberal arts education. And so that's kind of what your book reminded me of. But I mean, I'm in a different place than I was in the 70s. I've been an atheist, and I felt like I feel like you're a lapsed atheist.
I agree.
I feel like it's a paradox that someone of your extraordinary intellectual abilities
and see, making that same mistake, that thinking that dogma has anything to do with intelligence. If you believe something dogmatically, then it goes around, it circumnavigates your intelligence. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. Always comes back to this.
I feel like it's a paradox that someone of your extraordinary intellectual abilities is trying to reanimate this dead hooker called religion and bring it back to life in some way, or find what's useful in it. Why try to take these?
Because you get false substitutes emerge.
Now, that's a very, very, very good answer. And yeah, John, we are very, very familiar with the lobsters. But so, like Vivek Ramaswamy was saying on the campaign trail, if you have a God-sized hole in your heart, then something's going to fill it. And as an atheist, I do believe that is the case. But what's missing from that is that there are alternatives. There are alternatives. It doesn't have to be Jesus and Yahweh and all of that stuff. But for people like Jordan Peterson, even though he's essentially saying, yeah, I don't believe the things that are claimed in the Bible, well, it's better than nothing. And my question, is it though?
I know what does that mean?
Well,
to take these,
because you get false substitutes emerge.
I know what does that mean?
Well, imagine that your systems of ideas, imagine that they're either unified or not unified. Those are basically the options, right? And if they are
Thank you, brother. I mean, I definitely got to do a deep dive on all of that stuff. I'm not really too sure, but I do very, very much appreciate you guys. And a big shout out to the Shuli Network and, Stuttering John too. Zippy said, people should be smart enough to find the errors in dogmatic thinking. You can have the religion without the absolutism. I don't know if you can, dude. I don't know if you can, because then it's just ideas. Then it's just, this is what I think about a thing. The absolutism is what makes the religion, not just the thing that you think and a religion. So I don't know if I agree with you.
Ideas, imagine that they're either unified or not unified. Those are basically the options, right? And if they are unified, there's something under which they have to be unified. And if they're not unified, then they're in conflict, and that's not good. That makes you anxious. It makes you hopeless. It breeds social discord.
Ideas are in conflict, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, like when people have cognitive dissonance, like thinking that a man can transform into a female.
Yes, if
ideas are always in conflict.
Yeah, but if they're
but not in your own head, Bill.
If they're in conflict too much, people go to war and they fall apart.
Well,
right? I mean, look, you want diversity and you want difference in opinion because you want to keep things churning. But
what has made people go to war more than anything? Belief in who's the real God.
Cannot argue with that. You cannot argue with that.
Because you want to keep things churning.
But what has made people go to war more than anything? Belief in who's the real God. I mean, religion, I could take any number of reasons why I think it's better to junk the whole thing, but start with religions are supremacist. Just by their nature.
Yep. And you guys jump down my throat whenever I bring this up, but like, I'm sure that you would agree that it's true with other religions, but you guys too, you think that you are better because you have these ideas. Otherwise, you wouldn't represent these ideas the way that you do. Zippy said absolutism is a hell of a drug, but the theory and construct of religion should be universal and more than simple people promote. Maybe. I mean, I've never seen a religion that has it looked like it had the legs, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Always willing to say it. Stephen Gobert said, I agree with Peterson that nihilism is a threat to anyone with high realism, but that's a reason to improve our culture, not double down on pretend meaning. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely agree. Dilly to that. It's dangerous to be without the ground, like you said. If you don't have something in there, yeah, right. One day, King. One day, if you don't have something in there that's driving your principles, then your ideas will be in conflict. But again, it comes back to, does it need to specifically be this particular ideology? And I still have no reason to think that the answer to that question is yes.
To junk the whole thing, but start with religions are supremacist just by their nature. If you're telling people what happens when you die, which nobody knows, and you're telling who the great master of the universe is, you kind of have to be in a place where you can't abide other thoughts on the subject. And certainly all religions are like that. Islam is super supremacist in that way. And a lot of the people today who are speaking for it will tell you right to your face. Well,
like, does anybody disagree that the Muslim community, and we're not even talking about like Islamists, we're not even talking about like jihadists, but just your average person who follows Islam, they think that they are living a better life than people, than secular people, than Christian people, than anything else, and that's okay. You're allowed to think that, but just don't pretend like you're not. Dixon said, I think South Park had it right in the evolution episode. Unfortunately, people will always go to war over having different beliefs. Unfortunately. Well said, sir.
That way. And a lot of the people today who are speaking for it will tell you right to your face. Why am I supporting this? Because Islam is the best. Of course, obviously, that's why we justify these things. And certainly the Bible, same thing. I mean, God is very supremacist for the Jews. I find it very amusing that the thing that they are accusing the Jews of today of doing, colonizing, ethnic cleansing, which are neither true, are true in the Bible. That's exactly what God tells the Jews to do. Ethnically cleanse the Canaanites. Commit genocide if you have to. God tells them, kill all the men. This is this in the Bible. You've written about it in there. Kill all the men, the Midianites, another number of people. Kill all the men and the women who aren't virgins, kids. I mean,
standard pattern of human warfare.
So I do appreciate how Jordan is really just letting Bill kind of make his argument, letting him kind of, because notice Jordan hasn't jumped in. There's a lot of things that just understanding where Peterson comes from. There's been a lot that he definitely could have jumped in, but interesting as to why he hasn't. And it could be just a beginning of the conversation, still feeling each other out, but I don't know. I think that was purposeful. Like let him get all of it out, and then I'll have a snappy answer.
Kids. I mean,
standard pattern of human warfare.
I know, but for people who take a book as the guide to morality, it's
right. That shouldn't be an acceptable side effect of like, well, we have this book. I mean, we are going to go to war every couple hundred years and slaughter people. But, standard human stuff. Is it though? Come on. Zippy says, helps to understand religion as a traditional process that's bound to nature. The bad thing is tribalism corrupts and destroys everything. Human nature is not even humane. Well said.
Of human warfare.
I know, but for people who take a book as the guide to morality, it's filled with terrible morality. But again, not to keep beating a dead horse about why religion is so horrible in any form, but if you read the teachings of the Mormon Church until recently, the things they say about Black people are just horrendous. The worst kind of racist thing. And
I'm really glad that I've gotten to a place where I've thought to ask Christians why they're not Mormons, why they're not Jehovah's Witness. Can't get a good answer.
Justify it by talking about that.
Ham.
Well, no, that's interesting. They get it. The black people in religion get it from two sources. The Mormons talk about Cain.
Yeah.
That black people are a descendant of Cain, and because Cain is a murderer, and
Dixon's not sarcastic at all.
he did a dark deed. I mean, they're very open about, like, that's why they have dark skin, to remind us of the darkness in their past. I mean, it's just fucking ugly. Yes, the other thing that the Southerners in this country used was Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham
Was the contemptuous son.
Also the one who wanted to fuck his dad. I guess, or maybe both of them, I don't know. But Ham, something think the black line runs from Ham.
Right.
But both of them, again, use religion to be justifying what we would today call one of the worst things, racism.
Okay, well, don't look. Right.
Is it worth it?
That's exactly. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? That's the idea that Peterson's putting forward when he said, well, that's just standard, how humans behave. Well, only when you push this type of ideology and dogma. And so to Bill's point, is it worth it? To what end?
One of the worst things, racism.
Okay, well, don't look. Right.
Is it worth it to, like, resurrect that whole structure when it comes with that? It's what I call the one turd in the pool theory. Like, I mean, a book that contains, we're okay with slavery. It's terrible on women. It's terrible on homosexuals. It's like if somebody said, yeah.
And again, you can agree or disagree with the positions on women, homosexuals, and whatever, but you can't say that they're nice to them in the Bible. That ain't how it works.
With slavery, it's terrible on women, it's terrible on homosexuals. It's like if somebody said, yeah, but you know what? There's only one turd in the pool. Jump on in. I wouldn't jump in if there was even one turd in the pool. And I wouldn't want to, like, resurrect a book and a mythology. And
here, and again, take the analogy even further. We'll just jump in. The turd's all the way over there. Well, okay, what if we go to the neighbor's pool? Did you ask the neighbor if they have a pool? If the neighbor has a pool and there's a turd in your pool, should we not just go over in that pool? No. This is the pool. There's only one. Like, this is your mindset if you're a Christian, and it does not make sense.
If there was even one turd in the pool, and I wouldn't want to, like, resurrect a book and a mythology.
Well, okay.
You get me?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing incoherent about that argument, although
or new, which is, again, well, I'm very excited to see what avenue he takes here, because these aren't new arguments.
I think it still leaves you in an awkward position, because the postmodernist would say, take a look at your stance and say, well, you defend Western civilization and there's plenty of turds floating in that pool. Well, but
okay.
Right.
All right. You win that one.
Well,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's rough because
there are plenty of turds floating in that pool. That's true.
Right?
But we can. Well, here's the thing.
I don't think it's a good argument. I think it's a good. It's good rhetoric. It's a good talking point. It's a good comparison, but it's not the same thing, because you're not a Westerner the same way you're a Christian. It does not quite. Every human process is flawed, and he's going to get to this, but that's the problem with the dogmatic aspect of it. Of course, every human process is flawed, which is why we need to be able to say, "Oh, we were wrong about that. We're gonna change things, and do it the right way now." But you can't do that with anything dogmatic, because this is the way that it is. This is the way that it is. Guys, I'm going to do me a huge favor if you have not already. Hit that like button. It is so easy, free, and it helps out the channel so very much. Thank you. Shout out to Am in the building. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Good to see ya.
Oh, it's rough, because
there are plenty of turds floating in that pool. That's true.
Right?
But we can. Well, here's the thing: we can fish our turds out. Like, we had slavery, but we fished that turd out of the pool.
Exactly.
You can't do that. The Bible is the Bible.
Yeah,
It's there.
and it was,
Exactly. So the issue that's why, like, okay, like I am in favor of Western values, despite the fact that there's been, bad things that have happened that countries that are Western and have Western values. That's not the same thing as the dogma that no, whatever was done was supposed to have been done because it was the right way to do it, and we do this, this being slavery or whatever else. Therefore, that's the justification to continue doing it. Not the same thing. He said, I suppose religion should be practiced in private, while learning from the mistakes of the past is more of an open and public process. Bingo. Well said, sir.
But we fished that turd out of the pool. You can't do that. The Bible is the Bible.
Yeah,
it's there, and it was written by God.
It was the Protestant evangelists that did that.
Did what?
Took that particular bit of pollution out of the pool, right?
Bit of pollution.
That was Wilberforce in the UK, and he was completely motivated by religious
motivations.
motivations.
Who were for emancipation.
He was the one who convinced the UK to put their navy against slavery.
In 1776, when our country was declared independent, there were 24 people in this country who belonged to the Abolitionist Society. They were mostly Quakers. 24 people in the whole fucking country thought abolition of slaves was a good idea.
Yeah. Well, Wilberforce in the UK started out kind of as one.
But it gathered steam.
Right.
It gathered steam. And 87 years later, 7 years later, we did something about it. That's the big argument against religion versus science.
What is the response? What is the response? Where's the self-correcting mechanism in religion at all?
It's self-correcting. We can be self-correcting. Religion, to a lot of people, seems too rigid. I mean, its virtue is that it's set in stone. This is what we believe. That's what they're counting on, is that people want that sort of certainty about something.
Okay, so
it's not going to change. That's what the Pope is always selling.
He says, slavery in the Bible did not promote slavery as much as tell you limits. So if I tell you, okay, you can only pay my 5-year-old daughter between the hours of 7 and 5. Does that make it okay? What? Limiting the thing that's bad is acknowledging that it is bad and saying that it is okay. So sure, okay, I haven't done a tally. I'm sure, okay, maybe the Bible talks about the good way, I guess, if that's what you're saying, to do slavery versus the bad way. But in my opinion, all slavery is bad. So, yikes.
Want that sort of certainty about something.
Okay, so
it's not going to change. That's what the Pope is always selling.
So one of the criticisms that Christ levies.
Yeah, sure. Okay, sure, fine. So it's better. But what if you're making the rules and you just say don't? Because you're God, right? So you can do anything. You have no limits on anything. And here you are. You're not even a Christian, and you're defending slavery, dude. This is what I mean. Intelligence has nothing to do with it. Stephen said the main point in religion's favor is entrenching community values. So practicing it in private is just a form of meditation. True. But again, to your earlier point, is that we don't need religion specifically to foster community values. And if we can get to a place where that is an American value that we value the community, then we don't need a God there. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. You're absolutely right. Again, I've never said that nothing good comes out of religion. That has never, ever, 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 ever been my contention. But again, we have, even if there's only one turd in our pool, should we not at least see if the neighbor has a pool before we go swimming with shit in the pool? Just asking. Or no? Are you're so confident that not only does the person not have a pool, but that it's totally fine that you're just going to dive headfirst into the pool with that booty Snickers? Whatever floats your boat.
It's
Then
not going to
whatever
change.
floats
That's
the
what the
turd.
Pope is
Okay,
always selling.
so one of the criticisms that Christ levies against the Pharisees in particular is exactly that criticism. He says to them, this is one of the things that sets himself up for crucifixion, because it's a very vicious insult. He tells the Pharisees that they worship their own doctrines as if they're religious truths, and that they would have killed the prophets. Had they been around in the time of the prophets that they purport to worship, they would have killed them. Said that they walk across the graves of their own prophets. Yeah. They haunt the graves of their own prophets. That's a good way of thinking about it. So he accuses them of a very deep cynicism. And he's trying to make the same point you're making, which is that you're not supposed to worship the static doctrines of men as if they're religious doctrines, and that there's something in the transformation process that isn't encapsulated in the, say, in the letter of the law.
Okay, and so this is the part where he debunks that, or says why actually you should.
So what would you say? You don't privilege the letter of the law over the spirit of the law. And I think part of what the genuine religious enterprise is the attempt to identify what that spirit is, that dynamic spirit.
Yeah, except that could also be science if you didn't section off that journey into religion. That could be part of the scientific endeavor. If you believe that the spirit exists, then there is no reason why the scientific method wouldn't lead us there.
The genuine religious enterprise is.
So yeah, basically the answer is, I like this thing and I know that it's there, but I don't want to actually figure it out. I just want to have these ideas that make me feel nice.
This is the attempt to identify what that spirit is, that dynamic spirit. And I think that can be done.
Yeah, exactly. Religion made science. What for if nobody's going to fucking use the science and just stick with the religion? That don't make no sense.
I think, and it does, it has an affinity, for example, with this idea that it's incumbent on you to voluntarily confront the tragedy and malevolence of life. And that if you do that, it will transform you. And we know that clinically. Like, all the different schools of psychotherapy converged on a few realizations. One of them was that it was useful to get people to get their story straight, to recount their story.
Right.
Another was that if you expose people to the things that they're afraid of, and
Damn, did somebody just unlike the video? Jesus Christ. I didn't think I was doing that bad. Shit, I'm sorry.
that they're avoiding, that they get stronger. That works. That's how you help people overcome anxiety, for example, social anxiety. It's also the fundamental mechanism of learning, is to put yourself on the edge of disaster and dance there, and that expands you.
G. Gordon Liddy once said that he was afraid of lightning, so he tied himself to a tree during a storm. I mean, that's an extreme version.
And see, now we know there isn't a God, because if there was, and it was Gordon Liddy tied to a tree. Yeah, but look, you use exposure training and therapy
That went completely over my head.
all the time. And a lot of what you do when you're trying to help people heal is return to that idea of the snake on the staff. It's like, what are you afraid of that's stopping you from moving forward? That's what you try to find out in therapy. It's like, what is it that's paralyzing you? Okay, now can we break that down into manageable bites so that you can confront it? And people see, it was a weird.
How is this a response to what Bill was saying? That there's a turd in the pool, that it's self-correcting, and then we're here on this. Like, what's the connective tissue? And like Steven's saying, Bill Maher's had some epic rants over the years, but they get mixed in with more and more BS these days. And so I'm not a huge fan of either of these dudes. And I think the exact same could be said about Jordan Peterson. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Now, can we break that down into manageable bites so that you can confront it? And people see, it was a weird thing, because
See, again, you didn't finish that thought, and now you're onto another thought.
behaviors were the first people that figured this out, that you could expose people to what they were afraid of voluntarily, and that they would become less afraid. That was the theory. They'd become less afraid. The psychoanalyst said that's not going to work, because maybe someone's afraid of an elevator, but they're not really afraid of the elevator. They're afraid of death. And if you get them to relax about the elevator, their fear will just pop up somewhere else.
Right.
But that isn't what happened. What happened was that if you got people to face any one thing they were afraid of voluntarily, they started to learn that they were more capable than they thought. And that made...
So yeah, if you stand up to things that you're afraid of, you'll realize that you're more capable of things than you thought. Okay. And
their bravery generalize. And that's really what kids do when they go out into the world, right? They find a challenge and they overcome it, and they learn that they're the sort of creature that can find a challenge and overcome it. And that generalizes. And that happened in psychotherapy. And then there's a radicalization of that idea in the Gospels and in this story of the brazen serpent. It's like, there's no limit to that. You take the worst, and this is also part and parcel of hero myth, because the most ancient story we have, literally, is a variant of the dragon treasure story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jordan Peterson was ever super. I don't know if reasonable is the word that I would use with Jordan Peterson, because he's definitely always been very out there. But it seems like he was a lot more focused on the philosophy of what you can gain from the Bible, whether you believe in the stories or not. And then just over time, even before he got into before he went to Daily Wire, it got a lot more about the politics of things. And I don't know that he, as much as he can talk about politics, I think that, you know, if he would have stuck to what he was doing, then it would be able to bring in a lot more people, instead of tying it to the political thing, the political background. And then it just got mixed up with you know, talking political talking points and propaganda and stuff. And now I don't know what are you talking about, man?
Right. That the quest is.
I love that part in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read this one. Anne said, Revelation 18 lists enslaved people as one of the luxuries of Babylon the Great, but also noted it will fall when God judges its sins and crimes. It's almost like, you know, this idea of karma or other ideas that have existed all throughout human history.
Dragon treasure story, right? That the quest is.
I love that part in the book.
Yeah. It's a very useful thing to know.
Look, if you're a person who has been listening for this last half hour and doesn't know what the fuck we're talking about, that book isn't for you. But if you're a person who has even a little bit of understanding of the Bible, you don't even have to be religious. It's a historical document. I really found this book so fascinating. It's so great. It's like what you were describing about your lecture. It's like your lecture in a book form. You know, somebody who knows how to tell a story, make you think differently of things. Even in the blurb I gave you, and you're a friend, I'm trying to be supportive. I had to even.
Well, again, King's talking about going through AA, but he was always very deeply steeped in religion. That's why, like, it's not a new thing that his whole thing was about the Bible and what the Bible says and this, that, and about the Bible. But the focus seemed to be about what you can learn from this, rather than this is why you should believe this thing. And I'm being kind of vague because I don't really remember. I can't really differentiate in my mind the types of you know, the lectures themselves. Like it all kind of blends together throughout time. So I'm being kind of vague, but again, the point being that I think it was more helpful what he was doing before, even though this is clearly more profitable.
Tell a story, make you think differently of things. Even in the blurb I gave you, and you're a friend, I'm trying to be supportive. I had to even say at the end, I didn't get all the way with him. He didn't convince me, because I feel like you're more religious than you used to be, or at least willing to give it a try. And maybe that has to do with you getting sick. I don't know.
I don't think so.
But what a ride to go on.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I love that book.
I'm glad to.
So am I wrong? Am I misremembering? Because when Jordan, let's see. Jordan Peterson lecture series. Let's see some old stuff that we can find. Yeah, from 7 years ago. So if we just take a random spot here.
Of chaos, and I think you can quantify the chaos by calculating how much of what you do and expect is likely to be disrupted by the event. Now, because the more disruption, the more destabilized you're going to be, which is why if someone tells you that you're going to perish painfully in 3 months, it's like, that's a bad one. You're really in an unexpected territory there. Nothing that you assumed that was real, roughly speaking, in the world is real anymore. We like to watch people in their normal life blindsided by something, experiencing this interregnum of chaos where they explore and gather new information and retool their character or retool the world, because either of those would work as a solution, and then come out the other side and things are better than they were to begin with, or at least as good. But better is better. That's a happy ending, right? That's a happy ending. That's a comedy, technically speaking.
So I mean, maybe you know, I don't know if you're gonna get it in a you know, just a little blurb like that. Again, but you know, the idea here that we're going way back 7 years ago, and it's not like he's new to religion. Is my point. It's just confusing how the message has gotten more messy over time. Steven said, if you want to do a degree in Christian history, Peterson will do. But what are your real motives for wanting to deep dive on antiquated ancient ideas versus our modern enlightened ones? Yeah, I mean, even even taking out the time period, just the legitimacy of the ideas themselves. Why is it that you want to dive deep on this particular thing? Not saying that's a bad thing. But just like Stephen asking the question, what is it that you're doing here?
I don't think so.
But what a ride to go on.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I love that book.
I'm glad to hear that.
And people will too. I mean, you don't have to, you just have to be interested in great stories. I mean, why does the Bible survive? A lot of it is good stories. It's a lot of stories.
They're stories you need to know too.
And it doesn't bother people that they're told by both testaments are an anthology. It's funny that in the New Testament they right out say this is 4 different versions and they're not even going to match and we don't care. The Old Testament, I think this is still the case, but certainly when I studied it in college, they identified 4 main writers of the Old Testament. They called them J, E, D, and P. And then
Jetup. Shout out to Monk Master General coming in hot with a $20 super chat. Said, forget all this jibber jabber. A treat for Morty there with every donation. Thank you, sir. So forget all this jibber jabber. I'll be in charge of judging sins and crimes from now on. Hey, I am with it. Welcome to the party, sir. Thank you so much. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated. Thank you.
Right, 4 main writers of the Old Testament. They called them J, E, D, and P. And then they would be like, J wrote this in 850 BC, and then obviously this is added. I mean, this is how scholars see it. But it's kind of the same thing.
It's an aggregation.
It's an aggregation of people over. Now, the New Testament, it's much closer. Mark is about 70 AD, and the last one, John, is about 110. So there's about 40 years. But all of them take place well after Jesus died. They never knew Jesus, the gospel writers.
Shout out to Logic and Rule. It said they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eating the cat. Eating the cat. Oh, sorry, that got stuck in my head. Does that happen to you guys? Yeah, goddamn right. Eating the dog. Eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs and eating the cat. It's so funny. It's so funny. Welcome to the party.
The only one who was close to Jesus' time is St. Paul, who's writing in the 50s. Jesus dies in 33. And he knows nothing about Jesus. It's so weird that the people who wrote later know everything about him. Paul doesn't even conceive of Jesus as someone who lived on earth. He said if he had lived on earth, he wouldn't have been a priest. He wouldn't have even been a priest. That's in St. Paul. He doesn't know anything about Mary, Joseph, the virgin birth, the crucifixion.
He just wasn't, taking all of the information. He was just too close to the forest to see the trees. That must have been it. And then 30 years later, that's when they actually learned about the crucifixion and the resurrection and all that stuff, right?
Stupid. He doesn't know anything about Mary, Joseph, the virgin birth.
Who?
The crucifixion, miracles, walking on water.
Seems like it would be important stuff. Maybe stuff that you want to include when you are writing about the core of the universe, the creator of the universe. But yeah, far be it for me to want to make sense.
Fishing with the guys and then nothing. I find that kind of weird.
There's no shortage of things that are incomprehensibly strange in the biblical library.
But so being sick had nothing to do with
not much. No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, what did being sick do? Well, it made me more grateful. That's for sure.
But isn't that wrapped up with religion?
Well, that's part of why I'm bringing it up. I mean, I was in excruciating pain for 3 years. And so now when I'm sitting here and I'm not on fire, I'm reasonably pleased about that when I have enough sense to remember.
Right.
And is that a permanent change? I suspect so. 3 years is a long time.
I mean, it does sound like what God did to Job.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Just putting him through all this bullshit just to test. Are you really down for the cause? Are you really here for me, bro? I'm going to make it just a little bit worse. I'm going to give you an autoimmune disease. I'm going to give you a benzo addiction. Are you sure you love me after I do all this stuff? Sounds like a toxic relationship to me, but I don't know.
Suspect so. 3 years is a long time.
I mean, it does sound like what God did to Job. I'm just saying. It's very,
well, I think
like
that happens to everybody to some degree. I mean,
I would disagree.
Every single person in the course of their life has to deal with the fact that somewhat random, extremely unpleasant things come along, and to some degree, even independent of your moral conduct.
Oh, totally.
Sure, but not all of us feel like we are on fire all of the time. Not me. Well, yeah, I did for 20 years, but after that, I did get over it.
And then, well, it just look. If you're a bad actor, the probability that horrible things are going to come your way is all things considered quite radically increased. But
yes and no. I mean, nothing bad happened to Saddam Hussein until we captured his.
Until we what?
His ass and hung him. But he had 65 years of being able to act like the most ridiculous tyrant in the world and get away with it. Other people, again, they don't do anything and something bad happens. I feel like when people connect their behavior with some sort of punishment or reward, that's childish. That's what, when people go karma. I did a whole thing on this on my show once. What a bunch of bullshit karma. Americans interpret karma to mean like, you took the last parking spot and now shit's going to happen to you. That's Schadenfreude. That's not karma. But that's how.
That's not Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is taking pleasure in other people's pain. But point taken.
People think of it. Karma. Oh, yeah, it's going to come back and get you. No, I'm
karma,
sorry.
Weaponized karma.
Weaponized karma. No, life is random. Good people get punished for no reason, and bad people go unpunished.
Again, does anybody disagree with that? Because that's a good starting point to say that life is random, and the even if you disagree with the basic point that he's making, that it can't possibly be. It's just all random, and I know this. I'm not making those claims, but definitely good people have bad things happen to them, and the other way around. He said, try compersion, the opposite of Schadenfreude. Take pleasure from the happiness of others. Yeah. Is that's which chapter of the Bible is that in?
You just, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're some sort of a petty criminals always committing crimes, you're probably going to wind up in jail, and that's not good. But not everything has a logical connection to it.
Well, and lots of times good people suffer terribly.
Terribly.
Right, and that's partly what Job is trying to deal with. And,
exactly.
And part of what he does.
No. That is not what Job is trying to deal with. Not random things that are just befalling him. This is God being egged on by Satan to fuck with this pious man just to appease Satan. Sounds pretty Satanist to me. Logic said God is either the world's most famous author or some guy decided to write a book. What is more likely? Well, I wish it was this simple. I wish convincing people was just this simple. Just like, let's take a step back and think, if you didn't already believe this stuff and I brought it all to you, would you believe it? I just saw a TikTok. I know you guys love a TikTok. I just saw a TikTok from Penn Jillette, and he was talking about how there could be a all the time I bring up the idea of the mother who believes that God told her to drown her kids. I bring that example up all the time. And so he was talking exactly about a situation like that, and it was something in the Bible Belt where the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the judge, the jury, the people in the galley, everybody there is a Bible thumping, like to the core Christian. Then we put this former mother on the stand, and she says, well, you guys all are God-fearing individuals, right? God told me to do this. Why is that not a legitimate legal defense? You can be guilty, you can be innocent or not guilty, or you can be innocent by reason of insanity. There's no innocent because God told me to do it. I wasn't gonna nitpick, but you said it, not me. We got Dietrich's in the building. Welcome to the party. So Jordan Peterson is Chuck Norris with a thesaurus. Bill Maher is a loose mufflered car. One talks too much without thinking. One thinks too much while talking. It's a clash of titans in a small stream. Interesting. I like it. Welcome to the party.
For terribly. Right. And that's partly what Job is trying to deal with. And,
Exactly.
you know, and part of what he does do is it's a strange thing because he takes refuge in his own ignorance. And I think there's some utility in that. There has to be, you know, because we have to, if we don't operate on the assumption that there's something like an intrinsic moral order, it's very difficult for us to conjure up the courage to continue to exist when things go seriously sideways. But it's worse than that. It's worse than that because, and this is why I brought up the Cain story earlier. If you are tortured, even unjustly, and you lose faith in yourself.
Guys, come on. Don't make me beg for likes. That's so pathetic. I don't want to be pathetic. Just hit the goddamn like button, please. Thank you.
And the structure of existence. It isn't only that you become demoralized, it's that you tilt towards malevolence. You start to work against things. And this is why, for example, I'm not thrilled in the least with the antinatalist types. You know, they make this claim that existence is characterized by suffering that's so intense that it would be better if consciousness itself just ceased to exist.
So people are just like, life is so terrible that it's okay not only to, you know, this ties into abortion as well, but it's not even an abortion argument, that it's better to not have existed at all than to exist. Zippy said, either God is absolute or all gods are absolute. If all gods are absolute, then it's just nature running its course. If one God is absolute, humans. This is why I don't engage with the notion of supernatural. That is not a thing that makes sense. That is just a collection of sounds that sound like things that make sense. Things either exist or they don't exist. If they exist, then they're part of nature, because that's what that means. If they don't exist, then they don't exist. So if it's supernatural, it's not supernatural, it's just natural. Logic said, I believe in God, I just have a very hard time trusting people. Smart. So we need to think a bit deeper when we use dubious terms such as absolute applied to things that don't fit such a concept.
You can make, that's Mephistopheles' case, by the way.
It's Silenus in Greek mythology.
Well, you can make a case for it.
What would be better to have never been born?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, and you might say, okay, you know, fair enough. What you're doing essentially is saying that the suffering in existence invalidates its utility. But what
that's how I felt about life for first 15, 16 years. Yeah, Catholicism.
if it is the case that if you believe that you become an agent that produces suffering? Well, that is what seems to happen. Is that
Right.
like once
What did he say?
actually saying that the suffering in existence invalidates its utility?
Right.
But what if it is the case that if you believe that you become an agent that produces suffering?
If you believe that living is worse than not have been alive, then you become an agent that produces suffering?
Well, that is what seems to happen, is that
Right.
like once you turn against life, I mean, look, everyone's going to have a time in their life when they think, oh my God, like really? Is this worth it? Like you watch someone you love suffer, or maybe you're in agony for doing something good, let's say in the worst possible situation. You think, really? Like really? And so then maybe you get cynical and you get bitter. But the problem is that has a direction too. That is what happens to Cain. Like he starts out cynical and bitter, but he ends up murderous, and his descendants are genocidal. Like that doesn't seem like a good alternative.
Who's the mother? Who's the mother? Who's the mother of Cain's children? So I see we still have this poll up. I'm going to keep it up for a little while longer because it is moving. It started out at like 80% of you saying, again, the question is, do you recognize Jordan Peterson as a Christian? And answers yes or no. It started out in the 80s, and now we're down to 67%. A full third of you said, he ain't a Christian. He ain't a Christian.
And so what you see in Job is this insistence, and it's a terrifying insistence, that you are required to maintain faith in your essential goodness, despite your flaws, which is already a hard thing to do, and your faith in the fundamental benevolence of, what would you say, of the created order. Because anything else hurts you, but it's worse than that. It produces a kind of malevolence that spreads. And I think that's like, you asked me what the relationship was between me being ill and this interest in religious belief. And
right. And so, Zibby, I mean, again, this comes back to some of the very common arguments that I bring up with religion all the time. The absolute is beyond man. Now, I know you refer to yourself as a cat, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you are in fact a human being and a man. If it is beyond man, how then you, as a man, are able to determine that something is beyond man? It would be beyond you, and then it just means that it's beyond you. Just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it can't be understood. And if something can't be understood, then you would not be able to understand that it's not able to be understood. You're just saying things. Steven said, if you agree that some things are beyond human comprehension, then maybe just say that instead of labeling it a god. There you go. I mean, surely there are some things that are beyond human comprehension. Surely. But as Steven says, why do we need to use that word that doesn't get us anywhere? I don't know. I don't know. What are you asking me if I understand? Maybe I do. I don't know. You're putting a capital God. I don't know what you're referring to. Maybe I do understand that thing, but I don't know what you're referring to.
I said that wasn't the primary mover. The primary mover for me has always been the study of atrocity. Because I spent a lot of time as a psychopathologist studying the actions of the people who have done the worst things. And
bingo.
They're unimaginably bad. I mean, Iris Chang's book, The Rape of Nanking. The Nazis are the good guys in that book.
Well,
right. I'm serious. That's how rough it was.
For those who may not remember.
So, okay, I remember this part. He brings up the conversation that Tucker Carlson had with Daryl Cooper, and then Daryl Cooper was then on Dave Smith's podcast, and they were talking about World War II. I don't know if it's his book or if the main book that they're referencing is Winston Churchill and the Unnecessary War, and just talking about how again, I'm just parroting them because I have not read the book, but just different aspects of how it's not just as simple as Hitler bad. And I don't know the details that well, but according to people like Dave Smith, who I do trust to understand the history of war and stuff like that, co-signs this book. So I'm just putting that out there before they shit all over the idea. And they might be wrong, and Dave and Daryl might be, they might be right, and Dave and Daryl might be wrong. I'm just saying that's where I'm coming from.
Nazis are the good guys in that book.
Well,
right. I'm serious. That's how rough it was.
For those who may not remember, 1937, the Japanese are on the march.
Yeah.
They're about to, Pearl Harbor was 1941, so this is 4 years before Pearl Harbor, and they were on the march in Asia, and they went into China, Manchuria, and what they did. I remember reading somebody's column recently. It was on the anniversary of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And it went into great detail about what the Japanese did, not just in Manchuria.
Iris Chang committed suicide after writing that book.
Boy, when it's so bad, even the book writer tells it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, this guy said, I know there's a lot of hand-wringing in America about Nagasaki and Hiroshima, not in Asia. they were not upset at all
They're like, yeah, we probably deserve that.
that the Japanese regime was taken out as brutally as it was.
They weren't. No, they weren't so happy about being bombed, but they were like, yeah, those people definitely deserved it.
They were not upset at all that the Japanese regime was taken out as brutally as it was, because what they did, I mean, to your point about the rape of Nanking, was just like we won't like.
See, well, and that's also the conundrum at a relatively deep level that's being contended with in the Old Testament. It's like, so the Canaanites in general, like from a narrative perspective, the Canaanites are the evil descendants of Cain.
Right.
Okay, and so the people that are being fought against are the cynical, bitter, twisted, nihilistic, genocidally motivated, sadistic murderers, let's say. Well,
according to who? Because, you know, as we are talking about this tribalistic and beliefs, and it's very easy to label the other people bad when you're coming from this perspective. History is written by the victors. Teacher says, we will never know when Jordan Peterson is having a psychotic break because his baseline is Class A1 uncaptured asylum prime candidate. I love the man, but his level of thought is almost burdensome. It really is. It really, really is. I would love if I would love if people would be a bit more critical of his delivery, of the way that he talks, because I do think he's very intelligent. I do think he has it all straight in his head, but there seems to be a tendency to be like, oh, I don't really get what he said, but it sounded good, so yeah, I'm going with that. And that's just as bad as any kind of dogmatic bullshit. Yeah. Let's dive back in here.
They're twisted, nihilistic, genocidally motivated, sadistic murderers, let's say. Well, then the question is, if that's the enemy that you're up against, what exactly is the moral thing to do? You know, and you just made a case, you know, painful it is to point it out, is that you made a case that there are patterns of behavior that are so despicable that what's justified in that situation? Was the atom bomb justified? Well, you know, we're arguing about that now. And people take the same tack with regards to the firebombing of Dresden, right? And you think, well, you know, the Nazis, they were pretty bad. And so what do we do about that? And the answer is, well, you know, we don't exactly know. It's not like it's simple. You know, how do you limit your reprisals? Well, we're dealing with that right now with the situation in Israel.
Did you see the guy on Tucker Carlson recently who was giving a revisionist history?
Was it Cooper? Was that his name?
I don't remember his name. I'd never heard of him. Tucker Carlson introduced, and of course, we're talking about Tucker Carlson, who I think is crazy, insane about a lot of things. But he introduced him as like the most important historian and blah, blah, blah. And this guy, I'm just paraphrasing like mad, but like.
And in a perfectly accurate and charitable way.
No, you got it all wrong. Hitler was the good guy and Churchill was the bad guy. No.
He definitely did not say that Hitler was the good guy.
You would agree that's insane, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because there are people in this world who think that that's who you are. I know I'm not one of those people. But I'm just
okay. But you were at one time, and the people who do get their news from people like you. So let's not. Well, I'm one of the good ones. I'm one of the good ones. Shout out to Matthew King. Welcome to the party. Said average people cannot follow Peterson when he goes off on his tangents. That's why he rewrites his speeches multiple times so people can actually follow his thoughts. Yeah, and I think that, you know, there's a balance between, like, it's not my responsibility if you're too stupid to keep up with what I'm saying. But if what I'm saying is, you know, not just everyday stuff, if I'm bringing fresh ideas to you, if I'm tying things together that you've never heard tied together before, then it is my responsibility to make sure that you can follow. So there's a balance there, and I don't think that he does it very well. I mean, even as we're watching this, trying to fix on, like, okay, what is your point here? What are you trying to say? And again, I think he gets it. I don't think he's just rambling incoherently. I think he's just rambling. But welcome to the party, Matthew. Two very smart dudes who couldn't abide an undesigned universe or our place in it. Yeah, he definitely fails at that a lot.
That's who you are.
I'm-
That I am.
Me? Yes, I
You
know.
know I'm not one of those
Yes,
people.
I do
But I'm just
understand
saying,
that.
like,
Please like me. I'm one of the good ones.
when you're not fully on the woke train, you are somehow just thrown all the way across the field into that bin.
Yeah, again, maybe if you hadn't been feeding into that for almost 5 years before you were like, oh, wait, that's not good, then it wouldn't be as bad.
That's what bothers me about the way people react to you.
Mhm.
It's like, and me.
I have some objections to it too.
Yeah, and me. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's just
Yeah, how's that going for
it's
you?
so
Because
childish.
You've been
It's so naive and childish.
You've been standing up to the woke mob more and more. And so,
course.
yeah, and so what's been the
Well,
consequence? Not
the
of course, not many people are doing
No,
that.
you're right. Well, the consequence is some people left the building. I can't give an estimate, and I don't care, and I don't miss them. Other people joined. Like, there's a lot of people in this country who are tired of the hate and the hating, and I am one of them. I don't want to hate half the country, and
But you, again, for so long, like, that's good for you to say now, but you have to take this is like that Atlantic article that I will never forget, where they're like, I think it's time for pandemic amnesty. It's like, we're the ones that get to say that, and we would very much be willing to do that, a lot of us, if you hadn't been that's like if you that's like if you stole your sister's car and got in an accident, and then you go to her like, look, okay, we've both done things, like, we should just, if she wants to be like, hey, things are, I'm not gonna make a big deal about this, whatever, that's for her to say. And this is the same thing. It's not for you to be like, well, we shouldn't be hating half the country, as you spent however many years, mirroring basket of deplorables and the Trump derangement syndrome, all of that shit. Like, come on, dude. Come on. Dietrich said, Bill Maher only thinks that Tucker is crazy because they both have type A personalities, but Maher dwells in the sewer-grade enthusiasm of humanity, accepting his flaws without ambition to improve. I think that, I don't think that's the only reason. I agree that they both have similar types of personalities, but I think a lot of the reasoning has to do with just the propaganda, that Tucker was the face of the Republicans for so long that it's just like Republican equals bad, so Tucker equals Republican, so Tucker equals bad. I think it's just that simple.
In this country who are tired of the hate and the hating, and I am one of them. I don't want to hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country. I would never vote for Trump, and I think he's an abomination.
Exactly. And
Kamala, do I have to love everything? No. And it's fine. And I thought she was great last night, and I can't be more thrilled that
You can't be more thrilled. Oh, is that so? I'm sure I could not possibly find any clips of you talking about how she is anything but thrilling. Now, of course, we know that HBO will claim anything, so we ain't going to try. But we know.
And it's fine. And I thought she was great last night, and I can't be more thrilled that I would put my money on that she's going to win the election.
So this was released 3 days ago, but the way they're talking, I'm pretty sure it was recorded the night after the Trump Harris debate.
But I don't hold my tongue about what is insane about the other side
Anymore.
Because it's not nearly as threatening as not conceding elections, which Trump does not do. So that's where I am on that.
Neither does Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris.
But I also understand that Trump, I think, will go away after this. I think he's kind of finally,
if he wins, yeah, he'll do the term, and then he goes away, and then y'all will realize that MAGA is not some cult for Trump, and that Trump is going to be off in the sunset, and we're still going to be pushing these America First type ideas. You ain't gonna be ready.
Trump, I think, will go away after this. I think.
Yeah, right. Like it's like who's the president right now? Who is the president right now? There's only one way to say that he wouldn't that he wouldn't peacefully transfer power, was if he didn't peacefully transfer the power.
I think he's kind of finally reached his Joe McCarthy stage where it's like people are tired of it. It just took longer. But Trumpism won't go away. And I would define Trumpism as a fear of the insanity of the far left.
Okay, yeah, I am absolutely okay with that. A fear of the insanity of the far left. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is not completely unjustified. And therefore, anyone is better than that. And Trump proves it because he is that anyone.
Absolutely. 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 As I've been saying, I wish we could have, I wish Ron DeSantis would have done better. I think he would have had a real chance. Obviously, Vivek is a newcomer and, I don't think that he would have gotten so far, but exactly, Bill. If so many people are saying, are saying, I don't even care about this, that, and that, because the other side is so much worse. Why is the automatic thing to be like, oh, they're crazy? When you just said that fear for the far left is reasonable. Come on, man. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome to the party. I don't mean to miss much. Come on, you didn't miss much. Just come to life. Yeah, I need you. I want you guys behind. I don't want the replay's there. The replay's there. You replay. Funk Master said, "No, Stephen, we love everything into one big pile now. Get with it." There you go. Matthew said, I hope Vivek sticks around till next cycle. I really like hearing him speak. I think he definitely will. I think, number one, he understands how to keep himself relevant. And then I think he has enough ideas that, Trump, and if not Trump, then whoever is next for this Trumpism, MAGA, America First movement is going to be like, we need Vivek. So I'm pretty hopeful on the future of Vivek in politics.
And therefore, anyone is better than that. And Trump proves it because he is that anyone. If he's okay, if he, in all his monstrosity, is still better than what you fear about the left, that's a problem the left has to deal with.
Bingo. He said it. Not me. He said it. Shout out to Free Breather. Said Vivek the Snake. Is that I did hear, where did that come from? I don't remember that being a negative thing, but hell yeah, Vivek the Snake. That's my dude.
Still better than what you fear about the left. That's a problem the left has to deal with. It would be so easy. This thing I just mentioned about Colombia, where they were saying we want to eradicate the United States as it is. How about
welcome to the party?
But pick some Democratic politician. Pick that as your Sister Soldier moment. Remember Sister Soldier? That's what Clinton. He made a thing about a rapper who had said we should take a week out and just kill white people. Now, no one was.
It'd take longer than a week.
It would take. Exactly. But she said
he's just not committed to the task.
Reasonable. She said, let's take a week. Okay. And nobody really took this seriously.
Right.
He purposely picked on that. And someone could do that. Does anybody think most kids in America want to eradicate America? Of course not. But just pick out something to signal to the middle of this country. We're not as crazy as the super crazies on the far left.
Okay, but then, as you said, Bill, that's the problem of the left. And everything that we, being not on the left, everything that we see, and, this hyper online echo chamber world, even if you try your best, you're still going to be in your epistemic bubble, as Destiny calls it. If everything that we see is people not knowing and not caring, and you're agreeing that that's an issue on the left, then where are the people on the left doing the stuff, doing the thing, educating people, fixing the rhetoric, whatever it is that you think needs to be done? Who is it that you're championing to do it? Where are like you have a very big show, and it took a while, but you definitely call out a lot of the bullshit. Why don't you, instead of just calling out the bullshit, why don't you highlight people on the left who are actually fighting for the things that you care about and doing it in a way that is not the crazies on the super far left? But you don't, because there is nobody, because that is the left. And maybe you don't agree with it, but you don't fight against it. And that is exactly why, that even if Trump is not some savior and amazing Jesus-like figure, well, Hunger Dance. We'll see. Even though that's not the case, people are still like, yes, this is way better, because it's not Trump versus Kamala. It's the people versus the establishment. Context said, so stop letting the crazy on the left speak so much for you. Exactly. Oh, we got the hungry dance. Don't forget, guys, every donation comes with a treat for Morty. Yeah, exactly. Stop being quiet when all the rational people on the left get canceled. Exactly.
To the middle of this country, we're not as crazy as the super crazies on the far left. Just pick it. That's a sister soldier moment. We don't want to eradicate America.
Good.
Okay. So Trumpism they will find someone. They will find another Trump. It's not really just him. Bingo. As long as there's things that scare them about the things you've gotten in trouble with, gender, and the hysterics about racism. Not that it isn't a real thing, but all this freedom of speech issues, parenting issues, all these things that really scare them. And again, not completely without justification.
Well, there's plenty of reason to be scared of the radical left.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Until you take care of that problem, they will.
No. Until you take care of that problem,
will always come up with a Trump.
Agreed.
That's it.
I mean, agreed. I don't know how else you, or I don't know how you can disagree with that. I don't know how you can disagree with that. It's y'all's fault. If the far left is the problem, and Trumpism, as you put it, is a reaction to the far left, then you deal with the far left and you deal with the Trumpism. I would love to be able to live in a world where being liberal wasn't something that made me cringe inside, the same way that 10 years ago when I heard Republican, or that somebody was a Republican. What? I would love if we could just get to a place where we're just people with different perspectives. And I know that's pie in the sky, but that doesn't mean that individually each of us can't play a part in demonstrating that that's possible. And I think especially shout out to those of you who are in the Discord community. I think especially those of you who are there show that it is really possible. A lot of us don't disagree. We get into arguments and stuff, but we're there because we care about truth. We care about America. If you have not joined, join now. It's free.
They will always come up with a Trump. That's it.
I spent 5 years working with Democrats, trying to pull them to the center. And I had a lot of behind-the-scenes conversations with people. Virtually none of them public, because virtually no one would talk to me publicly.
Are we talking about politicians?
Yes, and many of them. And I asked them all, on the Democrat side, I asked them all the same question, purposefully. And I asked this to RFK too. When does the left go too far? Because obviously the left can go too far.
2017.
And none of them would answer. And so,
really?
Not one. Dead serious.
In private?
In private as well.
Why are you surprised, Bill? These are your people. This is like Robin DiAngelo seeing a Matt Walsh with a man bun walk into the room and be like, "What's your name? Oh, you got to be careful out there." This is your industry. How do you not know this?
Come on.
No, I'm telling you the truth. And
I know.
Wait. People on the left are scared to tell their real feelings or have actual ideas about what they say and back up the things that they purport to believe? What? No.
Dead serious.
Private?
In private as well.
Come on.
No, I'm telling you the truth. And
I know some people. I know some people who would answer that.
Well, look, it's also, I stopped doing.
Bill. Did you just say, I know some people who would answer that? Meaning most of the people that you know would not be willing to have an honest discussion? Tracks.
A fair bit of that about a year and a half ago. And things have changed. There are more people on the moderate Democrat side who are willing to draw a line with regard to the radical leftists, but they're still not very good at defining it. So they'd reverse the.
I agree. I think that's a very good analysis. That there's a lot of people who are sick of the far left, the overly woke, whatever, but they're not willing to do anything about it. They don't like it, but they're not willing to do anything about it.
With regard to the radical leftists, but they're still not very good at defining it. So they'd reverse the question and ask me, like, when do you think they go too far? And I thought that was simple. It's like equality of outcome. And the universal response to that was always the same. Oh, they don't really mean that. Well, it's like, yeah, they do.
To be fair.
Yes, they do.
It is more complicated than just that.
Is it though? Seems pretty simple to me. Equality of outcomes is bad.
Equality, meaning equality of outcome, I believe in that too. Equity is what they changed it to. A lot of people on the far left, and Biden went along with all of it. Means no. Some people started out not from the same place, so we should make an effort to redress that.
No. Life is not fair. You cannot legislate fairness into you cannot legislate fairness into humanity. You cannot do that. There will always be people, no matter what, unless you take everything away from everybody and everybody gets one piece of bread and one cup of water, there will always be people who are better at stuff. And those people deserve more stuff. Life is not fair, and you cannot legislate it into utopia.
Not from the same place. So we should make an effort to redress that. I believe in some of that theoretically, and some of it
theoretically
in how you would put it into practice. You can't just say, okay, let's, some people weren't even at the starting gate for the first 350 years, and now go. Of course, there's going to be remedial, I think, things that we can do. And we're doing many of them. We're doing some of them anyway.
Of course you can. Did I say that you can't do that? That's not the goal. The goal is, here is an imbalance. Where's the law to fix it? Nobody said we shouldn't have laws to make things more or less fair. That obviously things should be more fair. But exactly what I said. There is no perfect justice. That is what DEI aims to do. Context said, leave it to the woke to simplify the hard stuff and overcomplicate the easy stuff. Well said. It really is. Yeah, only when it toes the line. But it really is. It's simplifying the hard stuff and overcomplicating the easy stuff. Always.
I think
always
things that we can do, and we're doing many of them. We're doing some of them anyway. But do I think it means we should make it that medical school is not something that you can only get into completely by merit? No, because no one wants a doctor who got there by affirmative action.
That's what DEI is meant to do. That is, we already have the system where it's based on merit. That's already what it is. That's already what it is. Nothing needs to be done. We already have a process of saying, okay, did you complete this? And we have tests to see, if you're better at this, then you get a better position. You're more likely to be hired. I don't understand. What is it that you're asking for? Shout out to Funk Master General. Said PSA, the Overlord wants peanut butter. But it's up to you guys to make it happen. Right now, he is chomping on some bacon training bites here. But I did just finish another peanut butter that is ready for consumption for the Overlord. That's right. If we get up to 50, if we get $50 in super chats, we are or donations in general, we are now at $30, $20 away from getting that man all the peanut butter he can wish for.
Because no one wants a doctor who got there by affirmative action.
Yes.
Right. But you would count what I said to be valid, right? That you can't say if you started 300 years late, we expect you to be.
I guess this is one of the.
You didn't start 300 years late, because if you were born today, or let's say you were born in 1990, then in 1990 you are at the same place as everybody else who was born in 1990. Now, of course, they're not exactly the same, because as we just discussed, life is not fair. I was given the amazing privilege of being born to a well-off family. You can't legislate that away. What is it that you want to? What law are you? It is what it is. He worked harder than a lot of other people. He was luckier than a lot of other people. Both of those things. And now I'm luckier than a lot of other people too. Am I wrong for being lucky? Am I abusing the fact that luck in some way to hurt other people? Then what the fuck are we talking about? Context said, how do you fix racism? Reparations. What is racism today? Well, you have to have a degree in CRT and gender studies. It's a really to understand the nuance of what that really is. Well, lucky for me, I am DEI certified. So, where is it? In case you missed it, I am DEI certified. So official. Don't even need a whistle. Boom, baby. Boom, baby. DEI professional in the building. Zippy said 300 years late? That's racist. That's admitting blacks and minorities cannot compete or exactly. Exactly. The capitalist system can be improved or made less efficient at rationally incentivizing. So let's lean to the latter. What? What does it have to do with what we're talking about, dude?
Things that probably tilts me in the more conservative direction, and partly as a social scientist, is that well-meaning interventions seldom have the outcome that's designed.
Correct.
So even and it's really a radical problem. Okay, so the historical solution to the problem of unequal distribution of, say, even of opportunity, is that everyone is treated the same under the law, regardless of anything, regardless of wealth, regardless of race,
right,
age, status. It's the same.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Now, obviously, there's elements of that appear unjust. So if you make $1 million a year and you get $1,000 fine for speeding, that's a lot.
Wait a minute, Funkmaster. You're saying Nankin was brutal, just as bad as what the Nazis were doing, maybe worse.
How dare you?
Are you a crazy conspiracy theorist like Daryl Cooper and Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson? You can't say that. Nazi equals bad. When it comes to World War II, it's just Nazi bad. If you say anything else,
how dare you?
You're just a bad person, man. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Excuse me. Guamzek says equity can never work because people still make bad decisions. It doesn't really matter where you start off. Equity would just be a continuous process of giving people stuff they didn't earn, or more specifically, taking away stuff that people did earn. This is what No Child Left Behind was. This is why our schools are shit, because the focus is, okay, who's the dumbest, slowest kid in the class? Let's make sure he is at the same place as the smartest kid. And because you can't make him any smarter, the only way to do that is to hold back the smart person. It's not any different. It's not any different. It's the exact same concept.
Appear unjust. So if you make $1 million a year and you get $1,000 fine for speeding, that's a lot different than $1,000 fine for someone who makes $12,000 a year. And so then you might say, well, maybe your fine should be income adjusted. Okay, but the problem with that is like, okay, you're differentially privileged with regards to your wealth.
But what about this factor and that factor and that factor and that factor? There's always going to be factors that create inequality naturally, organically, that you cannot legislate your way out of.
Well, how many dimensions of differential privilege are there? And the answer to that is, well, there's as many dimensions as there are differences between people.
And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say?
That's just what it is, man.
Exactly what does happen.
Seems that there are problems with meritocracy, also, as Harvard philosopher Michael Sander has argued, but at least reward merit over corruption. Yeah, and again, I mean, nobody's saying that America is perfect or capitalism as we have it is perfect. Or nobody's saying any of that. What we're saying is this bullshit that you're trying to add is not good. That's it. That's it. That and Carter made the Department of Education centralized top-down chaos. Top-down, always bad. Not always, but always.
No privilege are there? And the answer to that is, well, there's as many dimensions as there are differences between people. And that's an infinite number of differential advantages and disadvantages. And so I'll give you an example that I think is quite germane. So
and the problem, the reason that people who are proponents of DEI, the reason they don't understand this argument is because they are race obsessed. They are racist people, and every problem comes back to racism for them. And so if we just account for the racism, then no more problems exist. But it's almost like that's a simplification of the problem. Like Guamtek was saying. Guamtek said you still need to check out Harrison Bergeron. It explains everything you just said perfectly in a good short story. Well, I guess Harrison Bergeron should be checking me out then. What are we talking about here? Let's go.
There's obviously disparity in wealth. Well, one of the best predictors of wealth is age. Older people are richer. Well, why?
True.
Well, obviously, because they've had their whole life to work.
Race.
So, yeah.
Even more.
Okay, but let me make the case with...
Before I get on my high horse, well, let's say which is a better indicator for how much money someone has? Their age or their race? Obviously, neither age or race is a definitive indicator on how much money somebody has, but both can influence wealth in complex ways. However, if we consider the factors involved, age is generally a stronger indicator of wealth than race. Here's why. People accumulate wealth over time, which is what he just said. Experience and earning potential. Older people tend to have more work experience, higher earning power, so on and so forth. With race as an indicator, systemic disparities. Even if we get into this bullshit, while race itself doesn't determine wealth, historical and structural inequalities such as income equality, discrimination in housing and lending, or unequal access to education have resulted in racial wealth gaps in many countries. Racial minorities tend to have lower wealth on average compared to minority groups or to majority groups. In summary, age is a better indicator of personal wealth accumulation over time. Obviously. They've
had their whole life to work.
Race.
So,
like I said, these people are race obsessed. Well, an old white guy, an old black guy is obviously going to be poor, right? Because he's black. Who's the racist here, dude?
Yeah.
Even more.
Okay, but let me make the case with this for a minute. Okay, so then you might say, well, it's very unfair that the old people have the money. It's like, yeah, fair enough, buddy. But the young people have the youth. And if I'm serious, and if
true.
you took the old person
Right.
and said, look, you give me all your money,
Right.
I'm 18, you give me all your
Right.
money, and I'll be 65, and you get to be 18 and broke.
But would you actually take that bargain?
Oh, okay. So we will end the original poll here with 65% of you. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think that kind of is enough to prove the point that over a third of you don't accept that Jordan Peterson is a Christian, but we'll leave that to the side. So let's say at 65, because I'm 30, I'm 34. I'm going to be 35 at the end of the year. So, you know, kind of reaching my prime. I wouldn't want to go back to 18 now, but at 65. So let's say at 65 years old, would you trade your life savings to be 18 again? At 65 years old. Now, we don't know what your life savings are going to be worth. But we sure as shit know what that youth is like. We sure as shit know what it's like to be youthful and have your whole life ahead of you. Funkmaster said, Jordan Peterson has never impressed me as a thought leader. He's easily influenced as well as boring. That's what I'm saying. It didn't used to be like that. He used to be on it. And I think he's just gotten too like, you know, I always come back to this. It just seems like he's sniffing his own farts. And he's just talking to talk. And he thinks everything I say is amazing. So let me just keep talking because it's going to be amazing. And once you get that thought in your head and you have sycophants who are you know, reinforcing that, it's hard to overcome. It's hard to overcome. And exactly like a dogma and intelligence, it doesn't necessarily mean that because you're smarter that you're prepared for it. So he says, as long as I know what's to come, I'll restart my life. Aim to be more dog, less cat. Fair enough. Bumtech said you can always make more money. You can never make more time. But if you could always improve on how to make money. There you go. There you go. But I mean, you still can't. I mean, there's a lot you can't do. There's a lot you don't know at 18 years old.
Me all your money, and I'll be 65, and you get to be 18 and broke.
But would you actually take that bargain? Because I wouldn't, even though I'm punching 70 in the mouth.
So remember that he said he wouldn't take it. I want to let this play a little bit, but I want to come back to that point.
But would you actually take that bargain? Because I wouldn't, even though I'm punching 70 in the mouth, I still wouldn't do it because my head would still be my 18-year-old head, and I just couldn't take any more of that. You're stupidity.
Yeah, because your 70-year-old self is just amazing. But again, think about the type of life that Bill Maher lives. He kind of already lives like a really rich 18-year-old. He just does whatever the fuck he wants to do. So maybe for somebody who is single and rich and, you know, set up, okay, fine. I can understand why you don't want to give up what you have. But if we, again, take a step back and look at the average person, you are clearly not the average person, Bill. Would it make sense for the average person to want to go back? Buckmaster said Bill Maher has always been a gigantic douchebag. Yeah, not much has changed. Not much has changed. Not at all. So he said he would not do it because he likes being racist. He does not want to learn and to grow. Oh, Billy Bill.
Still be my 18-year-old head, and I just couldn't take any more of that. Your stupidity, at least my stupidity at that age, caused so much pain, unnecessary pain in my life, that I would rather be this age.
Well, that's another sign of differential advantage, is you've got the disadvantages of being old, but now you're not quite as stupid. So,
Not
you know,
quite.
that's
No,
right.
it's
Maybe not quite as stupid, but he's definitely dumb.
It's awesome not being stupid.
Yeah, right.
It
right.
just is awesome. There's like that old commercial, priceless. It's priceless, not being fucking stupid.
What do you think? What do you think is better about you now than when you were young?
Good question. I don't think there's anything. Guamtag said if it was a complete reset to 18 with no memory of being 65 or 75, then no, I wouldn't take it. Yeah. So again, purposely, I didn't put that part in that, whether you would take your mind with you just back into your 18-year-old body, or if you would go back to being 18. But right now we're 50-50. So why wouldn't you? Why not? Why not? What would you expect? Given that you're the one that just said you can always make more money, you can't make more time. What is it that you think you would be giving up that wouldn't be worth having that youth anymore? So yeah, I didn't include that. So it's up to you to decide if you're going based on the question. It could go either way. You can go back to being 18, knowing what you know now, or it could be, you're actually 18 again. The spirit of the question was the that you just go back to being 18, but okay, say more. Yeah, say more.
I'm not fucking stupid.
Well-
I don't make stupid
Come on, man.
mistakes. I don't make that. I mean, I'm sure people would say, "Oh, Bill, you said this the other week, and I meant it, and it wasn't horrible."
Well, frequency and intensity also matter.
Also, I'm mixing dangerous chemicals every week. Okay,
Based.
I'm playing third base in. Okay, I'm gonna get more hard hit grounders, and but personally, much more in my personal life. I mean, men take a very long time to mature. I mean, when a woman,
I'll let you know when I do it.
woman says like, "Boy, you need a 40-year head start." Yeah, you do. You need like a 40-year head start to be on the same level. It's just, it's crazy how immature.
Shout out to Wolfgang Felix. Welcome to the party. Said rich people suck. Always have, always will. Well, I haven't met as many rich people to make that a determinant factor, but if you have, then I'll take your word for it. But I know that when I get rich, I won't suck. But I don't know. Welcome to the party.
Start to be on the same level. It's just, it's crazy how immature, as society would define immature, you can be, or I was, late into life.
So Gonzalez said at 75, I think I would have a lot of experience to give, and I would have more fulfillment to look back on than at 18. At that point, it should be more about giving than taking. Right, but you're still going to be 75 again. It's not like you're going back and you die at 18. You're just going back in time. So you get both. Either, regardless of the memory aspect of it, if you're saying at 75, this good thing happens, then going back to 18 doesn't prevent you from getting to 75. I feel like I would only be taking if I went back to 18 again. That's what we're saying. You would go back to being 18 again. Harrison Burns, a fun story. Libertarian like Lutch would probably love it. But it's over. Well, is it simple? Is it concise? Or is it oversimplified? Those are different things. King said we'll never pass up street booze, no matter the money. If you know, you know. There you go. There you go. He said rich people live poorly, so they pass on their wealth to kids. Super rich people suck. Again, I mean, Elon's pretty cool. I don't know. Seems like, again, it just seems like using that as a determinant factor is not the right way to look at things. But what do I know?
Because the immature things are the fun ones. I still don't want to give them up. People are different. We talked about this the last time you were here. We could not be more different in that way. I mean, you're so
He's a grown-up. You're a child.
much more a woman's dream, and I'm like a woman's nightmare in many ways. Like, never committed, never got married, never wanted to. I never understood how people could. And I see so many people who talk about it, like married couples, and they talk very fondly about, like, oh, remember when we were in love? And they're reminiscing about this time in their life that lasted like maybe 2 years, and they're living off that for the rest of their life. for the rest of their life, they're kind of remembering, oh yeah, that time when you were crazy in love and you'd have sex all the time and it was hot. And it's like,
Right, but even like I don't know about you guys. I know some of you guys are married, but like especially for the single dudes, like there's still a lot of benefit to a relationship. If I mean, maybe it's a personal thing if you're just not into that. But like as much as you might reminisce on something because it's gone, like you're not reminiscing on the benefits that you're currently getting because you're currently getting them. Like again, I've been in a couple 3-year relationships where we've gotten past that stage where it's just the honeymoon period. But like I prefer, like I don't really. Part of the reason that I don't want to, I'm not dating, is because that first year is like just a lot. Like I just want to be like start into the second year of the relationship where stuff is still fresh, but like they know you, you know them, you know what to expect. You're in the groove, whatever. But it's not surprising to me that he thinks that that's all that exists. Like, why would you reminisce on what's happening right now? Doesn't make sense, does it? It's almost like they're actually currently enjoying it.
at that time.
And I mean, yeah, sure, some married people are miserable, but again, is it the marriage or is it those people and the way that they look at the world and at life and at each other and all that stuff? Matthew said, I'm married now to an amazing woman. I wouldn't trade that for anything. Go back to 18 and be alone again? Hell no. But again, this just because you go back doesn't mean the life that you have now isn't going to happen. So you're still going to meet her. You're still going to marry her. But, fair enough. Fair enough.
Living off that for the rest of their life. For the rest of their life, they're kind of remembering, oh yeah, that time when you were crazy in love and you'd have sex all the time and it was hot. And it's like,
but you see what I mean? It's like the things that they enjoy about their day-to-day lives, they're not looking back on it because it happens every day.
yeah, and I had that one. Can we just keep this going forever? Would that really be the worst thing? But you probably have both.
Well, it's something that you can practice.
Really?
Well, the way I look at it is, and I guess this is biological and theological at the same time, is that we can start with the way that you perceive children. So you don't see your own child the same way you see someone else's child. And so then
same with dogs. I will tell you, as a professional dog trainer, same with dogs. I love this motherfucker, but that does not mean that I'm going to like your dog.
the question is, well,
I mean, I'm amazing at training them, but that don't mean I'm going to be happy doing it.
are you deluded about your own child, or are you deluded about other people's children? And I would say, and I'm trying to think about this scientifically, is that you're kind of blind to other people's children. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You see them, in a sense, you see them generically. Like most people show their best side to children. So I'm not trying to make a blanket condemnation of people. But I think that when you have your own child, then that's a child that you actually see. And so there's a depth of love there. And it's because your perceptions aren't inhibited. You actually see what's there. And so you fall in love. And then you make this commitment to the child. Now,
Hey, shout out to Rowdy Rupp in the building. Welcome to the party. So if I didn't keep my mind, then no. I'll just wait and hope for reincarnation to be real because I'm a greedy little bitch. Fair enough. So Guamzek said, let's say society was able to stop let's say you could be 18 again. I believe we would stagnate because there wouldn't be the experience to learn from anyone. I guess it would help me personally, but it would do more harm in the world. So again, nobody said the entire world. Whether you bring your memories with you or not, it was not specified in the question. So that you get to plug in whatever you want. But nobody's talking about everybody in the world going back to being 18. The world stays the same, and you go back to being 18. The world is just the world. Whatever it is, and it's just you go back to that day where you turn 18, and you're dropped back in that day, either with your memories that you have now, or that you'll have at 65, or just as that 18-year-old. Either way, you can decide which one it is. We're not talking about society stopping. Society wasn't stopped when you were 18, right? Society was still moving when you were 18, right? Matthew said, if I got to keep my current life and just my body went back to 18, I would be okay with that. Go back and not turn into a junkie this time. I almost don't. I kind of feel like I still might want to go down. I had some good times on drugs. I don't know. I honestly, genuinely do not know. I do not know. Now, I mean, I was a junkie, but I wasn't like shooting up and stuff like that. You know, as far as the worst it got was, you know, like stealing some of my mom's jewelry and stuff, and which is bad, but you know, I don't know if I can take it back, man. But you know, glad that you are finding your way. What if Lutch was reincarnated as a dog when he turned 65? Well, I'd be a dope ass dog. I'd be a dope ass dog. So you would want to, you would, as the dog owner, would love me because I'd be an awesome dog. But it's just the fact that not all dogs are awesome, just like not all people are awesome. That's what I'm saying, man. I'm just good times, and then really, really, really bad times for a little while.
You actually see what's there. And so you fall in love. And then you make this commitment to the child. Now,
Exactly.
I think the same thing happens to you when you fall in love with someone, is that you actually see into them much more deeply than you ever see into anyone else.
Bill's like, what is this love that you speak of? I'm not sure. I just pay 23-year-old hookers, and okay.
And that's something that you're given. It's like a grace. Or you could think about it as the action of an instinct. I don't really care which of those particular pathways of interpretation.
Oh, that's a sound. Oh, which sound? Oh man, I need like a halo, like I need. What just happened? Okay, I need to add that. What can I replace? Maybe I told you so, but I don't use it often. But I really like this sound. Anyway, all right, move on.
Think about it as the action of an instinct. I don't really care which of those particular pathways of interpretation you take, but it's something that's offered to you. And I think that you can practice maintaining that. It's hard. It takes work.
Yeah.
Like, it's an art.
That's always the one that gets me off the trail.
Well, people aren't
Work.
trained to do this. Like, it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so like one
Yeah,
of the things that I do with my wife is I try to remember that I love her. Like
That kind of goes to Bill's point. We'll jump back into that. But Gontex said, I couldn't live in current era at 18 years old. The world is mad enough as it is. I don't think I could handle it at 18 without knowing what I know now. So, okay, fair. So what if it was that you didn't get to keep your memories, but you actually went back to, 20, whatever it was. You went back to that day. The world. You went back to 2007, 2006, whatever year it was when you were 18, and you go back to that world. You're not in this world, and you just become an 18-year-old today. You are transported back to the world as it was when you were 18, and you get to just relive your life. Agreed.
I try to remember that, and I don't mean.
So yeah, what do we
with my wife is I try to remember that I love her. Like, I try to remember that. And I don't mean I bring the idea I love her to mind. That isn't what I mean.
Right.
I try to remember what it was like to see her when I was deeply in love with her, and then to
Are you not deeply in love with her anymore?
have that happen again.
Because that kind of goes to what Bill was saying, is that like there was this period, a couple years, where you guys were all about it. And now you have to remember that. I kind of feel like, I mean, is that like, those of you who are married, is that the way that you see things? Obviously, you've been married a bit longer than probably you guys have, but that seems weird. Weird?
her when I was deeply in love with her, and then to have that happen again. And you can practice that. It works. It's hard, but it's like ridiculously worthwhile. And
Right.
I think my wife and I learned that more deeply in the last 3 or 4 years, because I just about died and she just about died. And it was damn close in both situations. And so then we didn't die. It was like, it's very strange, because she thought she was dead and I was sure that I was gone. I thought, there's no way I'm coming back from this.
So when
Funkmaster said by 18, I was already out of school for years. Few hundred hits of acid deep, smoked crack, snorted heroin, committed other various crimes, and touched a whole bunch of boobies. Why the fuck would you not want to go back to that? There you go. I think if I personally would not go back unless I had my memories, because I was not a very happy person until I learned to think for myself. And the Catholicism really did a number on me. And it was when I was like 21, 22. And as I've told you guys before, I didn't have like a big fall away from Jesus moment. It was a process that took a couple months. But as I've said, when I went into college in 2008 as a freshman, when we were still using AOL Instant Messenger, and you use away messages, I had Bible verses in my away messages, and then by the next semester, I was a full-blown atheist. I think I was already primed, and the fact that I wasn't, I didn't have my parents bringing me to church and talking about this stuff, and obviously, in college, people aren't really caring about that. Like now, it's become in vogue again because of the reaction to wokeness, but there was no wokeness back then. There was no there was a few people that went to the chapel, but the only reason that most of the people I know from my school who had ever stepped foot in the chapel was because that's where they held the alcohol classes. They're super strict about alcohol. And if you got caught, then you had to take 3 classes and you had to go to the chapel for that. So, I mean, different strokes.
She thought she was dead and I was sure that I was gone. I thought, there's no way I'm coming back from this.
So when you're going through some shit where people are attacking you for something, is she right by you always saying look at what these assholes are saying, you're so right, and making you feel, because I know the feeling as you do of being in the glare because you said something or did something that they hate and they're screaming. And I always think,
I bet you do know what it's like to say something that people hate.
Of tennis matches. You ever watch a tennis match?
Yeah.
And the player's girlfriend is always in the audience, and they cut to her and she's just bleeding along with him on every point. It's almost like she's in the match too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
well,
what
I would say
when you
look,
go?
Yeah, because of that connection. There's an emotional connection, and there's an emotional plane, I would say. There's an emotional plane that exists that a lot of you are ready to just say, oh yeah, that's God. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, maybe it's something different, maybe it's connected, maybe I don't know. You claim to know, you don't, and I don't either. But there is a plane of emotion that exists that is so powerful that it supersedes the materialistic or first level things like a pain or discomfort or there is an emotional state that exists. And it could be brought on by love. It could be brought on by drugs. It could be brought on by psychosis. But your brain can go there. It's already equipped to go there. And it's very clear that, it's not very clear. But if I had to guess, I would say Bill has never reached that plane.
Point.
Talking about this, you can't imagine that even though somebody else is doing it, that you care so much. He just doesn't get it. Like so many other things.
He's just bleeding along with him on every point.
What are you doing?
It's almost like she's in the match
I know
too.
you're hungry.
Is that
well,
what
I would say,
when you
look,
go through?
I would say my wife is definitely in the match too, but she's not exactly the bleeding along with you type. Well, seriously, my wife, as far as women go, she's not.
Deal with it.
particularly agreeable. She's fairly combative. And so, well,
What a bitch.
I like that about her. I like that about her.
Really?
Yeah, I like
Oh,
that about
see,
her
we're
because
so-
she's a rough player, but she's fundamentally on my side. And so how does she stand beside me? It's not so much exactly with empathy. It's more like strategic play, you know? So if an attack comes, and I do this with my kids too, because we're quite tightly unified in that way. It's like, we take it on as a war. It's like, okay, you're after us, eh?
Right.
What is it that you needed to do? That you needed to jump down and go over and look at the curtains that you had to do right then, that now you've got to interrupt the show? Come on, man. And then he walks away. Oh, this motherfucker. Oh, this motherfucker. I love him, but this is what I mean. That's what I mean.
Right. I feel like it's stronger with the kids then.
Are you
And that's why
kidding?
maybe a great
Oh my
reason to
God.
have kids is because, you know,
I said
even
that
Eric
in the
Trump is like, hey, dad.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
well, that is
and-
definitely an advantage of having kids. There's no doubt about it.
Good riddance.
But my wife is
Look how goddamn cute he is.
like, we're pretty allied. We're pretty now. She's
Pretty.
she's
allied?
also quite. Well, she's discriminating. Like, the reason that I wouldn't characterize her affiliation with me exactly as empathic is because she's quite judgmental. Like, she's expecting me to do things the right way, and if I
Hey, yo, this is just becoming a Mrs. Peterson roast sesh. Guys, I gotta remind you, the poll is stuck at 50-50. 50-50. If you've not hit that poll so that we can know what is really good.
don't do them, she's not happy about that. But that's actually helpful because in these situations
When
where,
was the last time you needed to be righted?
oh God, all the time.
Wow. So, how to articulate this? The way that Bill Maher said that demonstrates a mode of thinking that, well, even though I disagree with Jordan Peterson on certain things, well, he's one of these up here. So he doesn't need to be corrected or righted. He just is. He's just right by virtue of being Jordan Peterson, just like I am always right, and I don't need to be righted because I am Bill Maher. Am I looking too into it? You tell me.
She's expecting me to do things the right way, and if I don't do them, she's not happy about that. But that's actually helpful because in these situations
When
where,
was the last time you needed to be righted?
oh God, all the time.
Really?
Oh God,
Name one.
absolutely.
Really? You need the woman to sit there and go, hey, you're really off the mark there.
I'll do it as soon as I come back. But the projection to be able to be unable to think about the fact that someone that knows you better than anybody else might be able to help you in the way that you behave.
Well, it's you know what it's like. The situations that
What-
you're in, let's say politically,
When
they're
was the last
complicated.
time tell me the last time she corrected something in you? And you were like, oh, thank you for telling me that because I was about to be such a fucking asshole. And then you,
Yeah, bro. Like, this is what are you expecting? Do you think that he's going to say something? Well, I was giving a lecture and, I was going to say this about the Bible. And then Mrs. Peterson was like, no, actually. It's like, well, no, okay, you got to do. No, dude. He knows that stuff. It's literally anything else in his life. These people tell on themselves. They tell on themselves. Insane.
me that because I was about to be such a fucking asshole. And then you,
I guess it's probably more subtle than that in some ways. I mean, so
Yep.
for example, she's watching me in public all the time and the way that I'm interacting with people. And we discuss that to make sure that I'm treating people properly when I'm out in public in general, when people come up to me or when we're in restaurants or anything like that.
like
She helps.
what? If
I was joking. Wow. I was about to make a joke about how he'd be like, well, what would you? And he did it. I was going to make the joke.
Properly when I'm out in public in general, when people come up to me or when we're in restaurants or anything like that.
like
She helps.
what? If she wasn't there, you'd fucking give them
No,
a,
but
Yeah, because like, what could a woman, with Jordan Peterson here, what possibly could a woman have to add to a social situation for somebody like Jordan Peterson?
What? Stupid.
Well, but like if people, I don't know, when you're met by people in public, what's your philosophy of
I don't care, okay? I'm Bill Maher, and they're lucky to be in my presence, okay? So if they get pissed off, that's not my problem.
conduct when people meet you in public?
If he says anything close to that, I will be so happy.
Let's say,
Be awesome.
oh,
Be
so-
awesome, because performers will never stop. Maybe at a certain level you would, but I have never gotten to that level, and that's fine. I love the.
Told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told
God, it feels good to be right!
you. A long time ago. And what did I say? What happened when I told you? Exactly what
Dilly dilly.
Performers will never stop. Maybe at a certain level you would, but I have never gotten to that level, and that's fine. I love the level I'm on, but I am insecure about, like, I do not want to alienate one single fan.
Yeah.
Failure.
Like, I mean, I still have the insecurity from when I was 22
well,
years
is that
old.
insecurity or is
Well,
that a
yeah. So what is so like, okay, I'm nitpicking at this point, but like, you act like your life is so much better than when you were 18, but it's literally exactly the same, and then you're saying you have the same insecure, like, what is it that you would be losing? Specifically Bill Maher, what is it that you'd be losing by going back to being 18? Except your money.
fan. I feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, I still have the insecurity from when I was 22
well,
years
is that
old.
insecurity or is
Well,
that a moral
yes.
obligation?
No, I think it is. It's both.
Okay.
I want to
okay.
do it because more than anything, to my audience, I always want to be a hero. When I do the show on Friday night, I want to be their hero. When
A hero. Oh, Bill, thank you for saying what conservatives have been saying for 6 months, and after you were just telling them how stupid they are. Oh my goodness. A hero. There goes my hero. Watch him as he goes. Like, come on. Like, oh, this is getting sad. I want them all to like me. You really like me. You really like
more than anything, to my audience, I always want to be a hero. When I do the show on Friday night, I want to be their hero. When I do a stand-up show, I want to be their hero. And when I meet them in person, like, I've had the experience of meeting someone who I liked from afar,
Yeah.
and then they disappointed me.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
And
You
I want
never
to be. I
forget
want to
that.
be the. You don't.
That's right. You never
And
forget, and
I
then you'll
wanna-
tell everyone
I
too.
want to be the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to be the.
failure in the most hilarious way. I think I've showed you guys this before, but the way that he, everybody has like when they do their podcast clips, they'll they'll do like make sure you subscribe and we're live every whatever. If you take any clip, how far? Okay, so if you take any clip, when you go to the end, it's just fucking hilarious. How like he's got a whole team, and this is his sign off for the clips.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching the clip. Hit the subscribe button now so you never miss out on our club random content that's posted daily.
I feel like he's angry. Like, why are you yelling at me? What did I do wrong? He is just so out of touch with how normal people think and operate.
Never
I
forget
want to
that.
be the. You don't.
That's right. You never
And
forget, and then
I
you'll
wanna-
tell everyone
I
too.
want to be the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to be the. Wow, he really engaged. Not for long. We're not.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know me like that.
Yeah, right.
But
yeah.
like, I don't ignore you either, or I don't take for granted
That yes.
that I think is
If only. No, that was so real. You don't get a more real Bill than that.
certain way in this world, and I speak a certain way, and I have a certain type of audience. Apropos to your point before about what have I lost? Yeah, I have lost some audience. I have. The super woke left the building, and again, I don't miss them.
Mhm.
People.
Yeah, I mean, but I would say that you've lost a lot more of the centrist type people like myself who now find themselves more on the right, but were absolutely a huge Bill Maher fan, anti-Trump, all of that. I would be more concerned about losing fans like myself than losing fans that are already retarded. Bill Maher just reminded me I bought a new tool bag.
Yeah, I have lost some audience. I have. The super woke left the building. And again, I don't miss them. People who are indoctrinated into
Guys, the poll is still at 50-50. Somebody's got to break it.
one way of thinking and never really hear anything that gets into that bubble. That's not what I don't find that interesting or getting to reality. So I do have a somewhat of a different audience. Anyway, so when I meet people who are across the board, you know, I mean, I still meet the old super liberal folks who love it. And now I meet more, but I always met certain conservatives always were respectful of my show. They felt like this is a guy who is a liberal, but he is not afraid to criticize his own side.
As of the last 4 years, or 4 or 5 years. But no, before that, you were spitting out the same tired bullshit. And even though now you'll call out wokeness, you still have TDS. So no, nobody respects you.
No, they felt
well, at least nobody deserving of respects you.
Like this is a guy who is a liberal, but he is not afraid to criticize his own side. It just got more exponential because the left got crazier. Since about 2015 is when Jonathan Haidt says it began with the
that
Gen
seems
Z.
about right.
That's when trigger warnings and you know what happened was we switched generations and the people.
Well, and we had the social media technology and the cell phone come along.
Yes, that was a big part of it.
Yeah, it enabled the psychopaths fundamentally.
Yes, I mean, look, Elon Musk has definitely changed. You can't tell me he hasn't changed.
What? Where did that come from? Did I miss something? Real quick, our favorite camera angle. This guy's on HBO. But yeah, that's the kind of camera angle that we want to be using. Did I miss something? Okay, so we're talking about social media and how it. Okay,
that was a big part of it.
Yeah, it enabled the psychopaths fundamentally.
Yeah.
Okay, so it enabled the psychopaths fundamentally. Okay, yeah, everybody has access.
Yes, I mean, look, Elon Musk has definitely changed.
The fact that you think that wasn't out of left field is very telling.
Can't tell me he hasn't changed. Do I think he's evil? I don't. But I do think he's changed. And it's because of what he calls the woke mind virus. He thinks he lost his son.
He did.
He talked to you about it, as I recall.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's also something you don't forget.
Well, you know, I can't endorse where he's gone.
Why not? Ask him why not. Ask him to articulate what it is that Elon Musk has done that's so bad. All you're going to get is, well, I think this and he thinks that.
I can't endorse voting for Trump in any possible way. And he's
surprise.
For Trump. And I think he did a great thing in taking over Twitter because
so you think that the moderate left is recoverable?
Yeah.
You think the universities are recoverable?
No.
Why not? So how do
we
you
have to go in there with a flamethrower? There's a big difference. I mentioned this on my show at the end of it last week. There's a big difference between Democratic politicians who generally are a sane crop.
If he's about to make the argument that I make, that there's a very big difference between Republican politicians and conservative voters and Democrat politicians and liberal voters, I agree. But it seems like he's going to say that the politicians are more reasonable than the average voter. Well, again, we will all agree that the crazy leftist Antifa people are out there in droves. That's not your average Democrat voter.
Democratic politicians who generally are a sane crop. They're too timid, yes, about calling out their far left, but they are generally a sane crop. They're not for and would not get on the page with legislatively, for example, defunding the police.
They've been pretty useless on the trans butchery side of things.
Like I say, not standing up against that stuff. Exactly. You're right.
8,000. That's
But
8,000 double mastectomies of minors so far.
Compared to the worst Republican politicians, it's not even close.
Explain how mutilating 8,000 children is not worse than what these Republican politicians have done. I am no huge fan of Republican politicians, so I am open to the argument. What is it that is worse than mutilating 8,000 children? Put a one in the chat if you think he's actually going to give an answer.
Double mastectomies of minors so far.
Compared to
So
the
far.
worst Republican politicians, it's not even close. The Republican politicians are way worse. You could say, and I would agree with you if you did, that there are crazies on each side. I would add to that.
Right, but again, I always bring up this point that the crazies on the left are usually espousing things that are acceptable, or as he just admitted, not pushed back on. Whereas when you look at the other side, what does the average conservative think about QAnon?
Stupid.
Not the same. Trump was here on the island today. Supposedly there was a bomb. They just won't stop. They just won't stop. At this point, it's not even like, that's not even a story now. That's not even a story now. That's where we're at. Of course there was a bomb. What else would we expect? Jesus fucking Christ.
You did, that there are crazies on each side. I would add to that, and in the Republican side, they have found a place for them. Unfortunately, it's in elective politics. But
So it's just so convenient. Just like a Christian. It's so convenient that all the other religions, they've got it wrong. But our religion, the one that I have, it's definitely legit.
the people, not just the politicians on the far left, they're the ones who are so obnoxious, the ones who control culture, the ones in the media, the ones on what used to be on Twitter. That's what I was saying about Elon. He did a good thing. He drove the woke out of Twitter the way St. Patrick drove the snakes out of Ireland. But then instead of creating what would have been like the internet version of what I think I'm doing,
What is it that you're doing, Bill? What is it that you're doing? Well, how many views do we have on this? We have 500, almost 600,000 views on this. And what is it that you're doing? Because I guarantee you walk down the street and ask 100 people if they even knew that this existed, and maybe 30 of them would say yes. So what is it that you're doing?
instead of creating what would have been like the internet version of what I think I'm doing, a place where you have a kind of a centrist view, where you have maybe, generally center left, but not afraid to call out the left, but also realistic about how dangerous the right is. But he didn't. He went full bore and just switched it all over to the super right.
Where is the critical thinking before you jump to this person did something different and therefore they are crazy, or where is the thought process of, wait, either they're crazy or there's something I don't understand. Either they're crazy. Okay, let's entertain that. That is totally something that we can entertain. Or there's something I'm wrong about, or there's something that I don't understand. Instead, it's, I know that I'm right, and I know that this person who's very smart, way smarter than me, who's doing good things, who I approve of in this way, that way, that way, and that way, but because if they did this, it's all for naught. How can you consider yourself a logical person? How can you consider yourself a critical thinker when everything just comes down to racism and right or left? It's pathetic. Guys, don't forget, we are only $20 away from getting Morty his peanut butter, and we don't need huge super chats. 99 cents will do the deed.
Dangerous the right is, but he didn't. He went full bore and just switched it all over to the super right. So now we just have Twitter's mirror image.
Let me ask you about that.
And it should have been Twitter, the middle place.
Well, some of this is
maybe You want it to be the middle place because you think you are the middle and you think you are right about everything. So you want it to reflect exactly what you see, but it's different than what you think in your mind. But instead of thinking, again, that I must not understand something, everybody there is wrong. Come on, bro. Critical thinking. This is cope and dogma. Cope and dogma. Context, this is the brain bug that is destroying society. One simple difference in opinion is grounds for othering. Tribalism is a hell of a drug. Well said, sir.
So
Twitter's
let me ask
mirror
you.
image.
Let me ask you about
And
that.
it should have been Twitter, the middle place.
Well,
It should have been exactly what I wanted it to be. And because it's not, that means everybody else is wrong. Okay. Matthew said he realized he's actually in the minority and can't accept it. I don't know if he's realized it, but he definitely can't accept it.
some of this is a technical problem, eh? And what I mean by that is that these new social communication technologies are landscapes that lack governance, and no one knows exactly how to do it, right? It's not like Mark Zuckerberg knows how to regulate Facebook. No, I'm serious.
True, as he admitted to, not doing it very well. And guys, we are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark. If you would like to keep the party raging, you know how to do it.
It's really okay. Now, but
Totally.
there's some reasons for that too.
You're
is that-
right.
so the anonymity that the social media platforms allows the psychopathic narcissist types that are all a real danger to civilization. It allows them free reign, and they're amplified because they what would you say? They parasitize negative emotion, and they're amplified. And now it's the case that throughout history, when the psychopathic minority, which is about 4% of the population, gets the upper hand, that all hell breaks loose. This happens all the time. And what I see happening in the social media world is the rise of exactly those sorts of people. They'll say anything they can possibly imagine, regardless of political orientation, because they're just using that as a weapon to draw power and resources to themselves. And there's plenty of them. And
You're
they
right.
have come out in staggering numbers on the far right in the aftermath of October 7th. And it's a seriously ugly thing to see. But it's also, we're trying to solve that. So tell me what you
argument.
think about this. We tried to solve that with Peterson Academy. So we built a social media network into it. Now, there's a couple of differences between it and Twitter.
Has any of you guys, seen what this Peterson Academy is about? Like, I heard about it when they first launched, but I don't really know much more about it. And here's another thing I think I want to do. Just because I know we do long streams and sometimes we're here for a while. So if you are not familiar, another way to support this channel is head on over to TheIndianJesus.com, where you can get your very own official merch. You can even get greeting cards and a whole bunch of other stuff. A lot of different designs only at TheIndianJesus.com. And then, of course, if you scroll right below the video here, you can hit that join button and become a member of the channel, which include a bunch of different levels here, but it starts at just $2.99 a month. We got members only live streams here on YouTube, but it also opens up the full Discord server. It is absolutely free to join the Discord server, but the after party is for members only. So make sure you are there. Make sure you are a member. And it is a good time. You definitely want to join us. Funkmaster said he knows it, but just can't admit it. Again, I don't think so. I don't think he knows it. I think he is steeped in the dogma that he is right and anything Trump is wrong. I do not accept that he is aware that he is this ignorant. I don't think that's the case.
That with Peterson Academy. So we built a social media network into it. Now, there's a couple of differences between it and Twitter. And the first difference, and I really want to know what you think about this, is there's a price of entry. You have to pay $40 a month. So here's a hypothesis to be part of Peterson Academy and to participate in the social media network.
$40 a month.
Well, that's
nothing.
I know. We have the most progressive university in the world. High quality education
that's
for everyone.
It's so Canadian.
Yeah. So
$40.
well, so
You can't get a again. Like, why is not the if I'm a fan of Bill Maher, I would expect the reaction not to be $40. What are you, stupid? You should be charging more. The reaction should be like, oh wow, $40. That's really good. It must be that you genuinely want to educate people. Nope. Oh, you stupid! You can get way more than that. And look at that! Somebody has broken the tie on the poll with only 9 votes, but still 55% of you said no. Oh wait, that's I'm gonna dip it. No, I would not go at 65 years old, trade my life savings and go back to being 18. Obviously, it really depends on the circumstances of you being 65, because I'm sure if you were living on the streets and didn't have a dollar to your name, you'd be like, oh, fuck yes, let me get a do-over. But, we will see. We will see. Hopefully that you are all doing well at 65. But interesting question either way. Moving on.
Everyone.
That's so Canadian.
Yeah. So
$40.
well, so
You can't get a Mai Tai for $40 in this town.
yeah, we think we can get people a bachelor's level at equivalent education for $2,000. That's the plan, and I think we can do it. We have the
So
capital.
you're
to do it
teaching
now.
like the old school curriculum? Please say yes.
Yes.
Like what I learned.
Yes.
Like, I mean, European history.
What kind of question is that?
It's not evil just because it happened in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're teaching.
I mean,
it's
like,
going to be a classic
look,
liberal curriculum,
right.
fundamentally.
And like, that's not to
tilted,
say.
I suppose, to some degree
And look,
towards the conservative side.
Do I think that in my fabulous Cornell education they gave short shrift to Asia and Africa? I do. I think I probably should know more about Asian and African history. But
Yeah, but at least you
So go learn it. It's there. There's nothing stopping you.
know something.
well, I don't
You
know.
got to start
I
somewhere.
don't know much, but I'm sorry, but there is less that's relevant to the modern world.
In what? What? Shout out to M165. What's good? What's good? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So the of Peterson cracks me up. I don't know why. It just does. I like the it's like no, okay. What is it? Fuck. I'm it's right on the tip of my tongue. But he's like, well, no, it's not okay. It's like, well, okay, well, no, something like that. I forget. I need to hear it again. But the Petersonisms definitely entertain. Welcome to the party.
So much, but I'm
Good to
sorry, but
see
there is less that's relevant to the modern world. Because again, the ideas that
Eurocentric bigot.
I'm not a bigot. I know you're joking, but no, I'm just saying if the ideas that came through, as I mentioned before, Athens and Rome and Jerusalem and London and Paris and Philadelphia, if they had come through Dakar and I don't know, Timbuktu, and I would be, I'm sorry, but they didn't. So should I study these civilizations more? Yes, but you then have to prove to me that,
Now you've just lost like another 100,000 woke fans. It's like the way they've
they're
gone.
already gone.
Yeah.
They're already gone, brother.
Yeah.
They're already gone. And it's okay. Maybe they'll come back. But, I mean, it's very hard to reach the indoctrinated on either side.
Yes.
I mean,
there you go. It's like, okay, well, no, not okay. I love it. Every time. It's like, well, okay, well, no, not okay.
So you got in trouble because you said Kamala Harris's fans, she talks to them like
retarded children.
Okay. Did you see the debate last night?
Guys, you really, okay. I mean, if you want to stop here, we can stop here.
I did.
I mean, what could be more retarded than
It was rough.
than saying the immigrants are eating the cats and the dogs? I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on.
They are, though. Just wait. Just like everything else. First, it's a conspiracy theory. You're so crazy to think this. And then we get a confirmed thing, which I believe we do have with a guy who was filming his neighbor grilling cats. And then they talked to the neighbor. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard. So first, it's no, you're crazy conspiracy theorist. Then we get one instance, and oh, well, that's just one thing. And then we get a whole bunch of stories, and now it's like, well, you don't think it's okay to eat cats? You're a racist.
How dare you?
Wait for it. It's a coming. It's
kind of asking for trouble when you position the one person, and again, people are binary in their thinking, but when you use that,
unlike yourself, right?
That word about which I agree.
Okay, so let me ask you a question about that. So I think Trump made a mistake last night.
Showing up.
And again, this was recorded the day after the Trump Harris debate.
Not making more of the nature of his team. So let me walk you through that and tell me what you think about it. So you
And again, we had a lot of discussion on, why I personally did not think that Trump did well, and I think that Kamala won the debate in the sense that she benefited more from it. I don't think it matters too much in the grand scheme of things, but if you didn't know, now you know. That's my opinion.
making more of the nature of his team. So let me walk you through that and tell me what you think about it. So you already admitted, for example, or agreed that the universities are in dire shape.
Horrible.
Okay. So now the question is,
I call it the source of the problem.
Yes, okay.
The mouth of the river from which all the woke nonsense flows.
Yeah.
The mouth of the river is what I would say.
yes,
Academia.
and I
Right.
agree with that sentiment. I think it's
Okay.
true, and we know perfectly well that the
Ivory-
university faculties are tilted radically to the left. That there's far fewer classic liberals than there were, say, 30 years ago, and there's virtually no conservatives.
Right.
So it's very tilted.
And the phrase ivory tower, sometimes something becomes such a cliche you don't hear it anymore, but that's perfect. It's really what it is. The Ivy League ivory towers. They're living in towers. They don't understand.
Towers of Babel,
Where did you go again? Didn't you? We were talking about Cornell. Okay, just making sure.
as it turns
Yeah,
out.
really,
Definitely.
which is
Yeah.
which is kind of the Eve story retold. You cannot know what God is like.
Yes.
Don't
How do you know that?
Yes.
don't eat the apple. Don't try to climb up to
Yeah,
me.
that's right. It's a story of pride again.
All those themes recapitulate. I mean,
Definitely.
I'm getting this from your book. I mean, I knew it before, but the way you get at that again, it was.
I have the next
it
one
was
written
such
too,
a, such a pleasure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, really. I mean, there's so few things left for adults. Everything is geared. And look,
It's that impulsive gratification that we were talking about earlier.
I don't think what do you mean there's so how is it that everything he says pisses me off? There's so few things left for adults as I sit here and won't not smoke weed in front of Steve-O to have a conversation. Like every aspect of your existence is a contradiction. Everything that you stand for is fabricated. MS9 said the cat grilling incident wasn't in Springfield, but was in or near Dayton, which isn't far away. The mainstream media will attempt to nail him on that technicality. Yep. Yeah. Like again, my position is that is not, and I've been talking to Dr. Evil Genius about this for past few days. We've been going back and forth. And he's trying to no, this wasn't a thing. And then JD Vance was on with Dana Bash, and she tried to twist his words that if I have to create stories, it's like no, make this a story about immigration because y'all are ignoring immigration. And again, if the specific thing of specifically Haitian illegal immigrants eating cats specifically, if that is completely fabricated, which one, I don't think it is, and two, how would you prove that it was? Because if you eat something, the evidence is gone. But the larger point is that it's believable because what we're talking about is importing people who have a different culture. I don't know I'm American, motherfucker. I don't know what they do in Haiti. And so if you import a third of what the town already has, that many people of a different culture, and then weird stuff happens, and I hear about it, even though it's a lie, it may be a lie, for you to then say, well, you're racist and xenophobic and crazy for believing that bringing people who are different, that would make things different. I didn't know that. I don't live in Springfield, Ohio. I was not aware of the traffic issues. I was not aware of the problems with people in the grocery stores opening things and eating with their hands, then putting them back. Those are real things. Those are actually reported. And nobody cared. Nobody cared in the mainstream media. And so I'm sorry. But yes, I have gotten to a point Where it's like, okay, if you needed to make some shit up, I wish we weren't there, but we're here. So even if not a single cat, like, can I get do I have the thing here? Is this it?
We thought we'd record.
So I got this from hold on. So I got this from Timcast, and they say, according to Timcast, this was they talked to the person taking the video, and they talked to the neighbor, and they did say that this was actually a cat. Mainstream media was trying to say that it is chicken. Clearly, this is not chicken.
We thought we'd record the fact that our Bosnian.
And again, it's nothing to see here. Just someone catching their Bosnian neighbor roasting a dog. Oh, well, that's not Haitian. You're racist. Y'all are the ones who were bringing about a particular race. I'm just talking about illegal immigrants, people who are not here legally and have no desire to assimilate into our culture.
Neighbors.
That's what I'm talking about.
Barbecuing a dog. You might be looking at this and saying, "That's not a dog." But
Go up closer so you can look at his tail.
you can see.
So maybe it's something different. Maybe it's not. But for you to tell me that I'm racist for seeing this and all of the other things, including the town hall meetings, including the police reports, including the letter from the attorney general.
With a little kid out there, keep saying a dog, we got a dog. So that's really fun. They're barbecuing a damn dog.
That's why, as Dr. Evil Genius put it, that people want this to be right. They want this to be true. Well, at this point, yeah, because now my reputation as a human being, as a decent human being, is on the line because you, the general you, have created this polarization where I don't. Now it can't be like, oh, okay, that was fake. Okay, cool. No, then it was fake. Now it's not. It doesn't matter whether it's fake or not. The argument is it racist to think that it could have been true? And the answer is no. The answer is no. But again, this is the problem with allowing the left to dominate the narrative. People are scared, myself included. I don't really want to talk about that too much until we have more evidence. I mean, that's definitely not a fucking chicken. I'm not an anthropologist. I might be a goat or something else, but it's certainly not a chicken. Funkmaster said, when the day comes that you're talking to Jordan Peterson, I expect you to be doing bong rips. I'm a professional, okay? Muxy9 said, how is it that you, me, and the rest of your chat understood what JD meant about creating a story, but Dana Bash apparently doesn't get it because she wants to twist whatever she can. Now, granted, not a good choice of words. Not a good choice of words. And apparently he admitted that the actual thing that he heard came from a neo-Nazi website or something. Does that mean that it's not true? Does that mean that I am racist? I am a bad person? Because, in my world, if you're a racist, you're a bad person. So am I a bad person because I believed my eyes? I'm willing to be wrong, but that's not what this is about anymore. You've escalated this. That's politics, baby. That's politics, baby. But thank you so very, very much for hanging out with me, guys. I really do appreciate you. And I am very excited to hear what you guys have to say in the after party, guys. I am already in there. Let's party. Let's party. First, let's give a big shout out to the sponsor of the stream, Funkmaster General. Thank you so very, very, very much, sir. We very, very much appreciate you. The Overlord definitely does. Thank you so very, very much for hanging out with me, guys. Once again, that is Marty, and I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus. Here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.